Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Toonami Squad podcast sessions. I'm your host, Phantom. Joining me today are Sam 2 and Logan.
Yo.
I'm here.
And back from the dead, our usual podcast host, Eric Casey.
I have risen. I am a demon now. Hopefully there's no demon slays around. That makes sense. Hello, everybody. Happy to be back. Also happy to do one of these again. How long has it been since the last one?
I guess according to the Toonami Squad Gaming Zone podcast, 2 Pepsi product or shameless plugs.
Are we sponsored by Pepsi now? I know it's been a bit.
We're still in talks.
Or you could just say
make sure
someone at Pepsi, some random person at Pepsi that we don't know the name to or know how to contact. Yes.
But I'm enjoying some voltage.
Oh my god!
And Silver's about to get scared right now.
Looks like
he's not here.
Looks like I have a conflict of interest here. It's out of focus, but it's Coke.
I'm just.
I really am a demon.
I'm just being healthy. I just have a water bottle.
There's nothing wrong with soda. Nothing.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
But anyways, guys, we got a year to review for Toonami. Some of us fell behind, or we endured 2021. So,
and also 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been an interesting, 9-year period of a, year and a half, 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. So somehow 2 years has turned into, a decade.
I mean, I guess if we skip 2020, I guess we all blacked out in 2020.
So, somehow, the last 2 years have somehow turned into a One Piece time skip.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
Exactly.
That is a good analogy. Cue the opening. And this is where I edited it.
And now I think we're just in the filler section of the pandemic side of things. So we're just waiting for the filler to end.
Oh yeah.
Well, if it's anything like Naruto, we're gonna be waiting a bit.
Oh God, no! The fourth Great Ninja War, the first Great Pandemic War. Oh God!
Oh no!
Oh no!
So if
I
we're
think my analogy's back.
So to get things started, if we're gonna go down the year, we should probably do the first thing that happened in 2021. January, we had 2 shows premiere. Well, one. The other was a season premiere. We had Attack on Titan final season and SSSS Gridman. We should probably talk final season first, since that was the first one that came, and I think Gridman came the week after.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, agreed.
So, you like war?
Yeah.
War never changes.
Yeah.
Especially in anime.
Still not feeling good over Attack on Titan. So excuse me.
I didn't start seeing Titan until season 2 was making the rounds, and I'm like, okay, I should probably check out season 1. I enjoyed it, because I remember hearing a lot of talk when season 1 was the big thing, but I never saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I checked out season 1 before season 2 came about, and then season 2 was good. I kind of noticed that a lot of the hype for Titan was there in season 1, but then when 2 and 3 came out,
politics.
If I'm gonna be real, I wasn't hooked completely into Titan until season 3 second half, when the big spoilers, obviously, not spoilers for what's happening now, but spoilers for up to first half final season, I should say. I don't know, have any of you caught up with the first half of final season?
Yeah, I'm fully caught up with it myself.
I watched it when it was on the block and in bits and pieces, because I kind of So my experience was I loved the first season of Attack on Titan, and middle of season 2 is when it started falling off for me, because season 1 I think did a really good job of setting up some really good, interesting stuff for the series to continue, and then season 2 and 3, in my opinion, completely dropped the ball with that, because then it went into the politics stuff, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because from the stuff that was set up in season 1, I thought the politics was interesting, and I wanted the world to expand. But then we got 2 seasons, like 1.5 seasons of just politics talk, and I think it just really was. It didn't. The politics just didn't go anywhere. I don't mind like people debating it all, but it just sat there with those politics talks for a season and a half. Then you get the whole reveal of like Eren's backstory, like the Titans' backstory and everything,
like Marley and all that.
Yeah, and then once they got out of the the walls and everything, and they see the water for the first time in their freaking lives, now we time skip, and the roles are supposedly completely reversed, and then the last season is basically explaining everything that led up to that, and it is like partially explaining what happened in between the time skip and also continuing the story. And I think it just dropped the ball in execution, and it just feels like the last the third season into I think it was like the third season into the final season. Whatever the previous season was going into the final season, and as it continued, has completely dropped the ball and was completely rushed with the storytelling. It just seems like someone stepped in and said, "We have to finish this series," and the entire writing team's like, "What?" Okay, and then they just did it, because I was excited for it. If you look back on our previous episodes on the podcast and with us talking about Attack on Titan season 1 and how excited I was and see where the show goes, and I like the angle of where they took it, but how they got there was trash, in my opinion. So that's kind of have been my personal experience with the show, and it's really disappointing at the end of the day.
Well, and it kind of goes along with something we were talking about before we started recording, and that is that, sometimes you get these shows that they want to focus so much on getting to the action, and in a sense, it almost felt like Attack on Titan had the opposite problem, in that the first season balanced that stuff so well.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you move on to season 2, and it's like, all right, I love what you guys did in the first season. Let's see more of it. And
nope.
You only delivered half of that. And
nope.
And I mean,
complete halt.
I'll take a political anime any day, but I know that going into it that's what I'm going to get. Mm-hmm. And when you're coming off of the first season balance, where it's a balancing act, and all of a sudden the scales tip one complete direction. I mean, I would probably have the same complaints if it had been nothing but action and not given us the story. And it's the same problem. It was, I love the story, but give us some of the meat and potatoes of the attacking the Titans. I mean, it's in the freaking name.
Right.
Well,
yeah, have the Titans actually attack and actually, yeah.
So, I guess I'm kind of somewhat opposite. Like, I didn't like first season. I was like, okay, I was like, this is good. Like second season, I was like, eh. The first half of third season, I was like, hey, politics talk is cool. I mean, like the thing that wooed me was Levi and Kenny, and like that whole Sakuga moment in the beginning.
Sure.
And then like when they got the second half of third season, when like the fighting commences and like they're at their old town and like you learn like the truth about Marley, I was like, oh god, like I'm like getting intrigued now, and then stops right there, and then like final season happens, and I'm just like, where is everyone? Like final season starts out with a bunch of these kids like on the other side, and it's like like I'm sorry, like there's two sides to this discourse, and I'm sorry that I have to be part of this one. I fucking hate Gabi. fucker.
My
Like,
homies hate
I
Gabi.
she's so freaking annoying, and and then she killed. Like, I'm sorry, spoiler alert. She kills Sasha, one of the best characters in the show, and yeah, like the whole scene, like, and what surprised me a lot was Aaron himself, because in the beginning I didn't really like Aaron, like, because he was so whiny and was like, I'm gonna kill all the Titans and blah 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 and all that, and then like he went from a whiny kid to a freaking terrorist.
A revolutionary.
A revolutionary. Like it was so fascinating. It was like he literally like snuck into this town and then just started committing a shit ton of war crimes.
Yeah.
And like decimating this whole town. Even his own, like Mikasa was like, you killed so many people. I'm sorry, Eric, to cut you off.
No, you're good. I didn't want to interrupt you, but yeah, no, I completely agree with you. My only issue with it is that, like I said, what I just want to know, like, what happened to Aaron to make that jump? Because like, I still don't really understand why. Because I like the idea of Aaron kind of becoming the monster that he swore that he would never be, but I want to know.
Yeah. I found that really interesting too. It was like, is Aaron becoming the villain of the series? Like, that's something.
It almost feels like there's, with so many anime like Sword Art, where you get a couple of seasons and then there's a movie and then you get another season afterwards. It almost feels like there should be, that there's a movie that we're missing that fills in between season 3 and the final season. Like,
there's something in between the time skip that's missing.
Yeah.
Like what? Because like I said, they do that time skip, and then all of a sudden, Aaron's a revolutionary. He's completely deprived of emotion and caring about anybody at this point. The scouts are kind of useless now, or they're kind of pointless. They're just there. You don't even understand why they're caught in the middle of anything that's going on between this. Like, I kind of get where Aaron's coming from. He wants revenge on Reinhardt, and then it turns out that Reinhardt is a part of this this like other town that's completely, brainwashed by propaganda, thinking that the others, like Aaron's people, were evil and all that kind of stuff. And I totally get it, because they're completely brainwashed and kind of in the wrong, but not for the right reasons and all that. But that's the thing, like, that stuff I'm kind of piecing together, but it's not confirmed in the storytelling at the end of the day. And that stuff needs to be confirmed for me to care.
Man, if only we had Steven here, because he's a manga reader.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it'll get answered in the second half. Like,
is it in the manga? Oh yeah. I'm
mean,
curious if that is explained in the manga. Did Aaron even find out what was in his dad's basement?
Yeah, that was like the whole thing. That was the plot
season
dump
2, right?
No, season 3. Like
that was 3, right?
That was like the whole plot dump of like what was beyond the walls and all that, with the plot dump of Marley and all that.
Right. Okay, yeah, that's right.
Well, having not read the manga, I don't know how much it might have skipped back and forth in time. But the anime itself has never really been afraid to do that. We saw the flashbacks with with Aaron's dad and everything. So yeah, exactly. It wouldn't surprise me necessarily if the final part of the final season, because of course this is another one of those where the final season got split into 2 seasons. I'm not really sure.
Well, the final season isn't really the final season,
right?
Yeah,
so it's not even its final form.
Yeah. So it's like. So we'll see what happens when they get now that the second part of the final season is in production.
Although
they're applying the Blu-ray box sets to the actual seasons now. Stop it.
Yeah.
Like and then like I was getting amazed. Yeah, but like Aaron's somewhat like transformation and like this whole like coup d'etat happening, and then and yeah, second half is out. I've seen the first episode. Like, second one came out today. I still got to see that. I don't want to jump the gun a bit, but like, because they already reported that the second half is 12 episodes, and
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
is
Manga
that?
readers have implied that that's not going to be enough to properly wrap it up, which kind of makes you wonder if they're going to do a movie and wrap it up, which,
which
who
is
knows?
seeming to be strong now, and like I really don't want it to be a movie just for the reason that's like, it's probably gonna take like a million years to get here because it's gonna come out in Japan first, and then it's gonna take like 5 months or something for it to come here. And then not only that, but people who have been watching through Toonami are not gonna get that closure because I highly doubt Toonami would ever air it. Like they never. The only time they air movies if it's something DC, like DC and Warner Brothers, really, like Animatrix, like Batman. Like I just don't see them airing an anime film.
Yeah. As cool as that would be, I'd be down for that. But if it did happen that way, but it would be stupid. I completely agree. It'd be stupid if Attack on Titan gets split up into literally 3 parts for the final season, and the last part is a stupid movie. And even regards to that, like 12 episodes to the quote-unquote final season, yeah, this unfortunately feels like a great show that got rushed through at the end, and that's unfortunate.
I made like a good joke a bit ago that was like, they want to advertise the final season if they keep splitting up. It's like, okay guys, we have made it to the final chapter of the show. Are you ready to see how this story ends? It's like 12 episodes in. It was like, all right guys, we hope you enjoyed the first half of the final chapter of the show. Tune in next year for the second half. Tune in next year for the second half, and we can finally see the end of the story. And then next year comes around. It starts up again. It's like, are you guys ready to see the end? Let's go. This is like 10 episodes past. All right, guys. We know we left you on a big cliffhanger, but we guarantee in a couple months, probably next year, we will finally see the end for sure.
Yeah. I mean, say what you will about Detective Conan.
They did that with Sword Art,
stuff like that. Say what you will about those long running shows, but at least they know they're long running and just keep going.
Like I know the same happened with Sword Art too. Like Alicization was split up 3 times.
Well, what else is news? Sword Art did something stupid.
Yeah. Okay, so
really goes without saying.
So, anyone have anything else to say on Titan before we move on?
I'm disappointed. Roar.
Okay, so the next thing that happened, we had Tokusatsu join the lineup. SSSS Gridman by Studio Trigger. I'm gonna quote this from this one review that I saw the other day. Thick thighs are temporary, but Gridman is eternal.
Amen. Yeah, as a Toku fan, it was great to see Gridman hit the block. It's nice because it's a little bit of mecha style action. The show had a good story. It had throwbacks if you're somebody like me who had seen the original Gridman, or even where the SSSS name comes from, the adaptation of Gridman that was done for America, a la Power Rangers, Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. So it was nice to see Toonami take a shot at something like that. I mean, it was still definitely more anime-like than your typical, obviously live action Toku would be. But, I thought it was nice, and, I've still been hoping that they would, end up airing the sequel series that they produced. And, now there's a movie on the way, because every anime's got to have a movie these days, right?
Well, yeah. when Dragon Ball, what was it? Everyone's hyped for Dragon Ball Superheroes, and Demon Slayer is literally outselling the superhero comic book market.
Yeah, when you're pulling those kind of numbers, you might as well make a movie.
And then,
hey guys, let's make a movie on the next chapter of our show, and then when we get to season 2, let's just tell that story again.
Yeah,
and keep in mind, we're in a pandemic.
True.
Yeah,
and it's
true.
pulling numbers.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's absolutely fair.
But going back on the Gridman, all I knew was just Studio Trigger, and I know Trigger tends to, blow away. So I'm just like, blow me away, Trigger.
Hmm.
And I found it pretty interesting, like Utah and like the Gridman Alliance and and essentially Aachen. Essentially, this is kind of like a story about like a girl with depression. I want to say like Akane is like the main character is more Akane than Utah, because I remember like a lot of the themes deals with a lot of serious subjects like depression and I think suicide was even mentioned once. I may be wrong on that, but yeah, it deals with some heavy stuff and the way she deals with it. So I mean, yeah, I can't find the right words, but I know it had a theme going, like, and it was about Akane. Essentially, Akane needs to come out of her shell, or yeah. I remember hearing a bunch of good stuff. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I don't know.
For Gridman?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some good things about it. It kind of reminds what Logan was saying with Power Rangers. I kind of got I don't know if it's good to be getting some Eureka 7 vibes from it. I was just looking up some pictures of it. I was getting a little bit of Eureka 7, a little bit. But it kind of reminds me of Power Rangers, Gundam. What was it? Ultraman, actually, a little bit. The giant mech design kind of reminds me of Ultraman a little bit.
Well, that's because the Gridman franchise is produced by the same company that produces Ultraman. So that's exactly why you're getting that vibe.
Okay.
They actually talk Ultraman in some of the episodes. It's like, hey, did you see the new Ultraman episode? It's so cool.
Any Jet Jaguar references too?
I don't think so.
Sad face.
One of the I do gotta say, one of the funniest things that came out of Gridman being on the block was our good pal Andre has started a religion called the Church of Akane.
Oh god!
Because he every damn time he tweeted the show, it was like, "We come once again for our daily bread. Guide us towards our path, our goddess Akane." And it's just for those who don't know, whenever Andre tweets a show, get a bat. Because there will be a point where he'll get horny.
Cult of Gridman.
Was kind of hoping to have him on here, but it's alright.
Anyone got anything else to say about Gridman?
I need to finish it. I've had a lot of shows to watch, so I need to catch up.
Alright, so the next thing is we move towards February, where our first big thing, I guess, in the year happens. Because I remember a surprise total immersion event. It's not canon.
Even canon.
Yeah, it's not canon.
Yeah,
but it's cool 2D, and we see Tom and Sarah in anime form.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it just came out of nowhere. They literally just announced it 1 week. It was next Saturday, total immersion event, Cosmo Samurai. I was like, wait, what? I mean, God, I have not seen it since they gave it. I mean, it was it's pretty neat, but it was just kind of weird. I guess oh, Tom and Sarah get right on their ship. Tom almost dies, but then he gets rescued by these resistance fighters.
I think,
and then
isn't it Tom 3.5 model?
It was one of them, but I mean, it was one of those things where because for one thing, it was all subtitled. It wasn't Steve Bloom, and
one of the rare times we get
so they ran this thing subbed, and I remember seeing somebody comment on it somewhere where the director of it was just told, like, you don't want to use the CGI models, that's fine. They're like, just do whatever you want with it. Like, literally just make whatever you want and have fun with it. And, that's why it's non-canon. But, I mean, for something that literally had no stakes on, the Toonami universe narrative, I mean, it was a fun time. I mean, it was something different. I can never fault them for at least, trying something different. And, to be perfectly honest, if they came out in another couple of years and said, like, hey, the reception to this was really good, we're gonna make a Tom limited 6-episode series in the same style, I'd watch it.
Same.
Yeah, same. It kind of reminded me of Into the Spider-Verse, but with Toonami. So Into the Toonami-verse.
Yeah, although it didn't really change up any styles, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of his redesign at the end, though. Like, why did they give him eyes? Like, we didn't need eyes. Like, he doesn't need eyes. He looks weird.
Tom Ford says hi.
No. They gave him eyes. Like, not eyes.
But Tom Ford had a face and a mouth.
Yeah, he had a whole face.
No one liked it.
I mean, that's fair. That's a fair point.
I mean, as always, you can always thank Sean Akins for that.
I didn't hate it.
We just dislike it.
Yeah.
But in terms of the series, of the thing as a whole, it was just kind of there, not to knock it, but like, it's not like, oh, they raid the ship, they save Sarah, and they beat the leader of the bad guys. And that's it. Like, I mean, I think they might set up a sequel. Who knows? Maybe. But I thought it was neat.
The non-canon aspect might have hurt it because of exactly that. Like, there were no ongoing ramifications, like when Tom got stranded on the planet, or when he blew up the Absolution, or any of that stuff. It's like there were no ramifications because it was non-canon. So exactly that. Like, there's nothing that keeps you stuck with it after it's over. It's just like, all right, that was it.
I mean, not to mention floating in space after blowing up said Absolution.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. No. I agree. I think it was just like a fun little thing that they could just do just for fun, and I think that's kind of the takeaway from it. Just not to take it too seriously. If they just treat it as its own thing, I do kind of agree, though. I wish for like a storytelling perspective. I wish there was like a little bit more stakes involved, because it was like a pretty quintessential anime with a Toonami skin on top of it. But yeah, I'd be okay with it to kind of be like an experimental, hey, let's throw this out there and see what it is type of thing, and just have a little more stakes to it than. Even though it's not canon, the fact that it's not canon, go nuts with it then,
So, after Assassination Classroom Season 1, we're just going to move on. We get Food Wars coming back.
Food Wars Season
3. I mean, the probably one of the most fan servicey shows since Kill la Kill to hit the block.
It's not fan service at all. It just
okay. You know what?
It just makes good food.
Like, man,
let me
rephrase you eat a piece of a steak and all your clothes rip off.
You know what? It's not fan service.
It's really good.
It's food service.
There's nothing fan service about making really, really tasty food. There's nothing fan service about that at all.
It's just food porn. That's all it is.
It's food service.
Yes.
So I just want to point out that when Season 3 came, it kind of started in a weird spot to where like we were just apparently stuff happened between Season 2 and 3, and we're just led to believe, this is a thing now, and it turns out that apparently there's an OVA that takes place between Seasons 2 and 3 to where the gang meets the 10, but that OVA never left Japan. So, and apparently that OVA is integral to season 3. But the fact that it never left Japan really, really makes a lot of people confused. Like, I remember the night season 3 premiered, and it literally started with them like going to school. It's like, man, you're so nervous after we, or it's like, man, you're doing better after we met the 10. I was like, wait, what? When did you all meet the 10? And it was like,
I agree. Like, I've been loving Food Wars. I think has been one of my favorite shows of the block in the last like couple of years. But I do agree with you in regards to like season 3. I actually fell off from it from a bit because I felt kind of lost in the story for a little bit, and that's probably why. Because the last thing that I remember is when they were on the train and they met what's his name's father, and they were going to challenge the 10 in regards to that and all that. And yeah, like, and then after that, it just like fell off because I got completely disinterested from it. So I just felt lost. I just felt completely lost in the story at that point. So
yeah, like, that seems to be something that happens, unfortunately, commonly with so many anime.
Yeah.
Attack on Titan again is a good example, but it at least hit that a little bit better in that the OVAs weren't as critical, but it's the same thing. There's a whole bunch of extra information that's in these side OVAs, and because of licensing hitches and stuff like that, we don't end up getting them, or we end up getting them later. Those Food Wars OVAs ended up on Crunchyroll, sometime this past summer. And it's like, okay, that's great, but how many people have already seen the show, either subbed on Crunchyroll, dubbed on disc, on Toonami? Like, it's too little, too late in a sense.
Agreed 100%.
Yeah, like I will say, like I was enjoying Food Wars season 3, but then it kind of I feel like the whole thing with Erina's father and the whole takeover just it happened so instantly. Like, it just came out of nowhere. Like, season 3 starts off with like Soma challenging like this guy from the 10. So like the first couple episodes is literally just like, I'm gonna beat you in this contest, and then I'm gonna challenge you to a food war, and then like the contest happens, and then just out of nowhere, like at the end of the episode, it's like, oh hey, Erina's dad is here. It just like came out of nowhere. Like, Erina's dad is here. He's like, what are you doing? I'm taking over the school, and then like school's taking over, and then all of a sudden it becomes about having to live with these new rules. It's like, what just happened? It's like we literally went from like a competition, like a mini arc on a competition, to all of a sudden school takeover.
Yeah. Yep. No, agreed. Agreed 100%.
Yeah. All right. So March, nothing happened.
March was pretty much uneventful. Like, I went over the outline for most of the year, and I looked at it, and was kind of just like, okay, it's business as usual. Nothing new started. It's kind of whatever.
Yep,
hitting their stride.
April, Promised Neverland season 2 premieres.
Yeah, let me give you my opinion on that one. Hang on, I've got my opinion on that one queued up. Let's see if this works.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty much my thoughts on that. Like, the first season had so much potential, and it seemed like it was going to go in such an interesting direction, and then we just got that. What the hell was that?
I don't even know what happened.
That's what hurt so much about it, was that like it started strong. Like, it had such a faithful first season, so like it had a lot of potential and hope, and then like you all of a sudden just squashed it in the second season. It's like, why? Like, why? Yeah. The manga was done too. Like, that was the messed up part. It was like the manga was already finished. So like, what the hell happened?
I don't know.
Yeah, like, it just
it completely, for me, it completely lost me, which was I would, again, going back to like the older episodes, I was loving the first season. I was loving it. I was singing its praises from the hilltops. And season 2, about like 3 episodes in, I was just done. So I was just like, I don't understand what is happening. What's his name is alive after we saw him dead. And
Like, without going into spoilers, like he in the manga he was alive too, but it took a lot longer to get to that. Like he came back near the end.
okay.
So like yeah, like I don't blame you for feeling a little rushed in the anime because he wasn't supposed to come back for a long while. Like if they were trying to be
it wasn't
faithful.
even like the timing of it. It just didn't make any sense. Like why? Like the like I was like, because I was like giving it a chance because I'm like, oh, what's his name is back. Maybe that's really weird that he's back now. Maybe he's a villain, like pretending to be one of the creatures and all, but it didn't go anywhere.
I mean, yeah. Well
I also fell off and didn't finish it.
You mentioned it before that the manga had already finished, and like the first few episodes were apparently still following the manga, and then all of a sudden they just veered off in this anime only filler direction, and it's like, I understand when you need to do filler because you're waiting for the manga to get on its way, but why would you steer away and do anime filler when you already had your source material to go off of? And then when on top of that, filler's fine when the filler's enjoyable, but when it does like whatever the hell that was.
It wasn't even filler. They were just going off in their own direction at that point, skipping stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like, and then oh boy, everyone's favorite final episode in the slideshows. It was like, hey guys, Emma meets God, and we're just gonna put that in one PNG.
Right. Yeah, it just,
like,
I remember being at Anime Expo in 2019, and they did a panel for season 1 with the Japanese voice cast and the American voice cast and the director, and it was like, such a huge thing. And it was like, Anime News Network was calling it like the must-watch anime of the season when it originally aired. And it was like, I watched the first season thinking like, wow, I see why everybody was so positive on this.
Yep.
And then, like I said, just, honestly, the second season, it felt rushed in the first couple of episodes, but it didn't necessarily feel like it hadn't really gone off the rails yet. But it was, I want to say, like after the third episode or so, and that's where they started steering onto their own thing. And it was just like, what even is this now?
The first warning sign was that when they went down into that bunker and they went into that room with the cameras,
yeah,
and that room was empty. Well, originally there was supposed to be someone in there, and that someone was supposed to, I haven't read the manga, but I think that someone was supposed to help them out, but that person wasn't there. So that was their first warning sign. They opened that room and no one was there when there was supposed to be someone there.
Jeez.
That was the first dead giveaway.
I have no words. I'm upset. Very sad.
I just really hope that they give it a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood treatment eventually. One of these days, do it again. This time, get it right, please.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so then we move into May.
My Hero Academia season 5.
You could let me speak. Yes, my Hero season 5. And I feel like we could probably just lump these two together. My Hero season 5 and Dr. Stone season 2.
Kind of predicted Dr. Stone, but
I mean, a lot of people predicted both My Hero and Dr. Stone. Okay, I'm gonna sound weird right now, but what is with this trend of animes premiering? They get a 24 episode first season, and then every subsequent season after it needs to be 12 or split in halves. I don't know. Is it a studio thing?
I think part of it is because, especially with something like Dr. Stone, where, and My Hero's relatively far enough ahead, but when you're adapting the manga, I think because there's so much anime being produced these days that these studios are getting scheduled so far in advance that in order to put something out that's reasonably paced without having to worry about spending money on creating filler episodes, but also, allowing yourself to just use a small production slot, it's easier to just grab these shorter seasons. And I think, the first season is usually because, they get hyped up so much. I mean, My Hero Academia, when that came out, was one of the biggest mangas. I mean, obviously still is, but at the time was just selling like crazy. I mean, Demon Slayer, same kind of thing. It's they want to make a big push to really get that attention on it, and then because the thing is, once you've got your viewers hooked, they're gonna stick around. So you can afford to do shorter seasons. And yet again, looking at Attack on Titan, look at the gap between the first and second season because of all the issues with production scheduling and whatnot, and yet everybody came back because the first season grabbed everyone so easily.
Also, I think something that gets overlooked in that kind of situation is the whole hoopla that happened during Dragon Ball Super in some of the earlier episodes when it first started out. I'm assuming that the rushed scheduling possibly played a role into the poor animation quality for some of those earlier episodes. Initially, they're like, we gotta get this out. It's Dragon Ball, like it's Dragon Ball, And then when they saw the big hoopla with that, they're like, I think we prefer like shorter shows, because at least we get more time to kind of bang things out, and not have people go crazy on us.
Well, going back into the topic, let's start with My Hero. So, like, I'm hearing a lot, a lot of people say season 5 is the weakest season so far. I can kind of see that. Like, I wasn't a big fan of the first half with the class competition. Like, I was more curious on what was going on with Deku and like his whole little a dream freak accident. Like, I was just wanting to see that build up, and they were building that up in teasers and stuff. And I'm like, okay, like obviously they're saving Deku's fight for last. Like, the others are cool, but I'm really here to see Deku's fight. And then like it happens, and like it's neat. Like, and I enjoyed it. Like that kind of opens up the gates as like he's getting the powers of the previous users, one for all. So that's gonna be something interesting eventually. And then like he eventually does learn to use one of them, like the whip power, and he essentially becomes Spider-Man.
I think the problem with season 5, looking back on it now, is that like some of the there's some major stuff that happened in the previous seasons. I think that that's a problem with My Hero overall. Like, My Hero is great, don't get me wrong, and it's still consistently good in overall. But I think it's getting to a point where it's like some of the big events or some of the big hurdles that My Hero hits at the end of each season. It's kind of weird to me that like it's getting to the point where it's getting weird to me that they have like this big event happen for the big season finale, and then everything kind of goes back to normal. Because I'm kind of treating like My Hero Academia as kind of like what Harry Potter kind of does, as the series progresses, where it's like the first like couple seasons, like the first like 2 or 3 movies of Harry Potter, where it's like you're going to school and all that kind of stuff, and then by the end of like Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix, and not Deathly Hallows, but Half-Blood Prince, they're pretty much like on the run, trying to save themselves, because they're on the run. They're wanted by the criminals and everything. But in season 5 now, they're still going back to school. They're still doing the whole thing, and the villains are still. I don't know. It feels weird that each season kind of resets and goes back to normal for a period of time until like the big final season thing starts to happen again. And I feel like there should be the school and the authorities in the world should be a little more proactive after what's his name, the second strongest in the world, literally almost died protecting this at that point.
Endeavor.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
you know what I mean?
I think, yeah, you touched on it there in that, it's weird that everything gets reset to a status quo and part of that's because it's so weird for anime where it's like, usually you've got these kids, it's
somewhere.
Well, it's like a kid, like take Gundam for example. Oh, this 15-year-old, student just hops into a giant robot. And now he's saving the Earth. It's like, that's your typical anime thing. So it's like it kind of feels weird that My Hero is going so far against that, which isn't a bad thing. But it's like you can't help but look at these kids that are dealing with, these world-ending level, bad guys, and then it's like, oh well, I guess I better go back to school and learn what I studied or focus on what I learned over this past semester. It's like, no, you're fighting like top level criminal like super villains. What the hell are you doing?
Well, perfect example actually. I believe it was what was it, season 3 or 4, where Bakudo was like the prime focus of the criminal authority or whatever in My Hero, where they're fixated on this guy for whatever reason, and it's basically because Bakudo is like a borderline villain based on his personality and everything. I'm assuming that's why they had a very keen eye on him during those seasons. And now that's kind of fallen to the side, and I'm just like, the League of Superheroes should be like watching Bakudo specifically 24/7. Like he was the criminals' like prime hero. They were fixated on this kid, and
instead he's just back in school.
Yeah, now he's back in school, and everyone's acting like that never happened. And it's like, don't you want to investigate why the League of Villains were so interested in this kid?
Man, if only we had Steven here, because he's a manga reader.
Well, yeah. I do know. I think I do know one of the spoilers in the manga, which is interesting, but can't say it right now. I don't know. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No, I have not read the manga, so I literally don't know anything.
Yeah, I've been following the anime, not the
it kind of blew the normie online community a little bit, to be honest with you.
Oh, wait. Is it the one thing involving the meta?
I will say traitor.
Oh, no. Okay, no.
Wait.
Never mind. No. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna back up and just leave right there. Anyway,
that's all
and then the second half. This is interesting. From what Stephen and a lot of other manga readers were saying, they actually swapped arcs. Originally, after the competition, it was supposed to be the villain arc, and then after that was supposed to be the Endeavor internship. However, a lot of people are assuming it's because of the movie that they decided to swap the two arcs, and that kind of made a lot of things seem jumbled. Like, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Deku gets this whip power, and it hurts him, and he's like, I need to practice with this so that I can actually use this." And then 2-4 episodes later, I can use it. Like, that kind of feels rushed. Mm-hmm. Because there was actually quite a bit of time in between there, but because they swapped arcs, it didn't feel like that much time passed.
Honestly, I kind of wish they didn't swap the arcs, to be honest with you, because looking at it, like, if the story was kind of focused, that I think would have made sense, especially after like the big events in the previous season. It would have made sense for the the school to be like, hey, We should probably separate these kids and kind of have a teacher watching them 24/7, so we can protect them.
Right.
Especially Bakuto.
I think they did that. I think they did that just because of the movie. Because like in the movie, Deku's got like his black whip power, and he's Spider-Man's all over the place in that movie. Like he literally pulls some Spider-Man moves, like zipping around and stuff like that. So I think like at that time the movie was coming out in Japan, so they wanted to tell that arc first, just to give him his Spider-Man powers, so that he has an excuse to do that in the movie. Like that's my assumption, at least.
And that makes sense to do that.
But like, and I think they also kind of wanted to end this season on somewhat of a bang, because say you do the villain stuff and then the Endeavor internship, you end the Endeavor internship, you didn't really get like a hook. So I guess like also like the villain stuff kind of made for a more interesting cliffhanger with what happened there. I guess we should talk about the villain stuff too. Like they pretty much, it's all about them in the end of the season, and you see Shigaraki's horrific backstory. He essentially murdered his family, and yeah, I'm sorry. The best thing to come out of that was when it was coming on Toonami, and I'm just seeing Silver's live tweets reacting to it for the first time, and it's just like, and he's like, what's going on? I don't want to tweet this anymore. And then essentially Shigaraki becomes full on supervillain mode. Like has like a change of character now. So now he's so imposing, and now he's going under like a bunch of experiments, so he's gonna come out real freaking scary. And that's what they're setting up for in this next season. Like without like the next season's looking to be a war arc. And I don't know anything, but a lot of manga readers, like Steven, for example, are all scared. And that's like getting me scared. It's like, oh boy, we're gonna come up on some game-changing stuff, aren't we? That's what it's looking like. The 6th season, I think, is like fall of this year.
Yeah, I think that's what they're planning for.
So, anyone got anything else to say about My Hero?
It's My Hero.
I hope the writing holds up.
All right, and now we also had Dr. Stone.
Not announced on 420, 0 out of 10.
I liked the first season of Dr. Stone. Like, I'm not like a big. Like I'm not like going crazy over it. It's like I don't know how to say what to say about it. Like it's interesting. Like oh yeah, like now they're infiltrating Tsukasa's like thing, and you're seeing a lot more of his men, and like they invented a freaking phone, and like I don't know, like
well, it suffers that same problem of like we said, the first season was 24 episodes and it had time to really build things up, and then the second season is 11 episodes, and it feels like it almost felt like things were too rushed, and just when things were getting started, it's like, oh, okay, season's over, like we're moving on to the next arc, and then of course you find out, oh, the next arc won't be out till I think they confirmed 2023, and all we're getting this year is like a 45-minute special episode. So it's like it feels like hurry up and get to a point so we can sit around and wait again. It's like that just gets frustrating, and it helps that the manga, which the manga's quite a bit farther along, and I believe is getting close to wrapping up. So who knows? Maybe they'll come back next year and go, okay, we're going to do 24 episodes or 36 episodes or something like that, and just see it all to the end. But still, you don't really know, and it just so many things just felt rushed to me.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like we're having this war, and like we're gonna make sure no one gets hurt, and then Just like all of a sudden, it's like, hey, we're already fighting, and it's like, oh, there's Hukasa already. Like, oh, there's a ceasefire. Like, turns out, what's his name was a traitor. And, Sukusa's dying, so we're gonna put him in stone again. Like, it just kind of, like, happens, like, in the span of 3 episodes.
Right, yeah, and it's like, nobody's saying that we need, Naruto, 150 episodes of a war, kind of pacing. But at the same time, like, don't just rush through everything either. Like, let the story breathe.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, I thought Doctor Stone season 2 was okay. I'm just like indifferent to it. Like it didn't really blow me away the first time, so it's like I'm not really losing sleep, wondering what's happening next. Like on Doctor Stone, like yeah, it said like that we were supposed to get like a special on like this like a character or something. Like I don't know who. Like I haven't read the manga, so I guess like a character that's super important to the story.
Which of course turns into another one of those things where it's like, are we going to get that episode? How are we going to get it? Is it going to air on Toonami before, assuming the 3rd season eventually comes back? Is it going to air? Is it going to count as one of these OVAs that we maybe get, maybe don't? There's so many questions with that kind of stuff too, that it's frustrating because you never know how much you're going to miss, just like we did with Food Wars.
Why can't these animes be like Demon Slayer, where it's just done it perfectly?
or just like do it season by season and don't split up stuff up between movies and OVAs.
Because I've been catching up with Demon Slayer, and I literally just finished the first part of season 2, the train arc, and God, like a character you just meet in 2 seconds, you already care about him. And the ending to it is just great.
Yeah, I haven't seen the 2nd season, but I have seen the movie, so I know that arc.
Yeah, I've seen the movie too.
Yeah, and I mean, say what you will about remaking, the movie's arc into the series, but at least you don't have to worry about having missed. Especially again, you mentioned earlier with COVID, how many people, even though it obviously did amazing at the box office, how many people didn't get to go see it that wanted to. I wouldn't expect a lot of anime to suddenly start going, we're gonna remake the movie like that, but I think that was a smart move on their part to do that here.
Yeah, and I watched it through the shows, Crunchyroll, and like the episodes and everything. But I'm just saying, like, the execution of like the story and the characters, like the pacing feels right. It doesn't feel like nothing's missing. It just it's hitting the beats perfectly. You care about the characters. The storytelling's good, and it's just hitting its mark every time, and there's nothing missing, and it's just great. So why can't the other animes do that? It's sad.
So, anyone got anything else to say about Dr. Stone? No?
I'm excited for season 3.
Hoping
for
I'm
the best.
60.
It's probably the most stable, other than Demon Slayer, in like, caring about the characters, story, execution, and everything. But it is, for me, like starting to kind of get into the when you're gonna hook me again type of thing, because I've kind of lost interest in it a little bit.
Yeah. Alright, so next we have, as we go into June, we have a new show joining the lineup. Yasha Hime, the sequel to Inuyasha. I have not seen Inuyasha. I still haven't seen Inuyasha. So to me, this feels like watching Boruto without having seen any of Naruto.
Yeah, and I'm the other way around. I watched all of Inuyasha over the years, and I actually haven't had a chance to watch Yashahime yet. So, while I know the basic plot beats of what's going on with it, and the general structure, I haven't seen it. So, it's I don't know. You know, it's a sequel that I never expected we'd see, especially as an anime original. You know, I kind of did not expect to see that happen, but here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I was gonna say, I have a passable knowledge of Inuyasha. I believe I have watched all of the show.
let's not forget that set 1 review.
Yeah, I did a review on the Blu-ray box set. Thank you, Viz Media, for that opportunity. Check it out. It's on the Toonami Squad YouTube channel. That did help a little bit in reviewing Inuyasha. But over the years, I've watched it here and there on occasion, and I think I've watched most of or all of the show. And I'm kind of on the same boat. I didn't expect a sequel series, Yashahime, to come out. It's kind of hit or miss for me, though. At the beginning, I was kind of vested into it. I was kind of interested. But it's just even with Boruto, like it's gotten to a point where I guess the theme for the podcast episode today is that a lot of these animes are just like they start off interesting and then they just can't keep the interest going.
Yeah, they fall into a paint by numbers almost groove.
Yeah,
at least Yashahime didn't get pulled like Boruto did.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yashahime is holding audiences better. You know what? Thinking about it now, this is probably the best way I could describe it. So, I think part of the problem with these sequel shows like Boruto and Yashahime is that it's almost like the original shows are holding it back at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Because, like, yeah, I want more, but I want to see it kind of push forward and do something different with the material rather than just constantly rely on the callbacks to the original. But I feel like they rely too heavily on the callbacks to the previous shows that it's kind of using the old show as a crutch to make you care about the new stuff. And I think
we get it. Nostalgia is cool.
Yes, and I think that's the biggest Achilles heel in regards to the sequel shows like Boruto and Yashahime specifically. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Disagree with that?
I thought the first season of Yashahime at the very least ended on a high note. Hey, we got to have this finale twice, y'all. It ended on a pretty neat cliffhanger. I mean, we can already tell where it's going, considering that season 2 is already out. But I found it pretty interesting. Like, I can't really say much because I haven't seen Inuyasha.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, not having seen Yashahime, I mean, obviously, I can't comment on it specifically, but I do agree with the sentiment on the almost nostalgia pandering in a lot of shows. I mean, you see it in Western shows. I mean, we've had countless TV live action and animation reboots. That aren't even reboots, they're sequels, and but they can't release themselves from from what came before. And try to make something that stands on its own that also happens to be like, oh, by the way, yes, we're in the same universe as this, and this stuff happened, but we're not going to drag in, all of this stuff, right away, and that seems to be
No Way Home. Anyone?
That one earned what
that
it did.
Earned
though.
it.
Yeah.
But if I guess for me, I look at something like the original Mobile Suit Gundam and Zeta Gundam. Zeta Gundam came out 6 years after the original series, and granted, one of the main characters, it turns out, is one of the main characters from the original series, and I mean, the viewer finds that out very quickly, but it's not constantly building on like, hey, remember when this guy did this? It was it was just another chapter of his story, and and then other characters showed up and they didn't overstay their welcomes or anything like that. And it just, so I agree with the aspect of, instead of trying to make something that stands alone, but then calls back when it feels appropriate, too many shows are trying to use the old show as a crutch, like you put it, Eric. Like that's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, because I have found with I've been able to follow Boruto pretty clearly with the storyline, but Yashahime, I am having an extremely hard time understanding what the hell is happening. Honestly, like the only thing that catches my eye are the callbacks and the references to the Inuyasha, but with all the new stuff and everything with the three sisters and everything, like that's cool and all, but I have no idea why the demons, are still around. I just don't understand why everything is happening. I just don't understand why everything is happening. Sadly.
You could say that for a lot of anime. I just don't understand why everything's happening.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, and also, like, I'm comparing it to Inuyasha, and Inuyasha, I'm able to follow the plot and everything. Fine, I understand, like, what's going on. There's, the demon jewels. The demons are trying to collect them, make themselves more powerful. In regards to the head demon guy, Ryoku, I think his name was, or something like that. But anyway, and there's all these little stuff in between. But that's basically the plot line. Stop big demon guy from getting the jewel shards. Simple. I get that. I understand that. But Yashahime, like the demons are back, or they still exist even though the head demon's gone, and that's the thing. Like, I don't really get the setting this time around, and it's hard for me to follow it. And like I don't know. Like I said, I'm having difficulty following Yashahime and why everything is happening and why everything is important.
Yeah, I mean, like,
even in like comparing it to Boruto, at least Boruto just feels like it's Naruto for the most part all over again, with some interesting kinks and changes here and there, but it feels like literally the same storyline as Naruto. So
I
don't want that, but it is helping me understand what's happening, which it's hard for me to say which is the better show in regards to that, because I feel like Boruto is doing a more lazy crutch approach, and I appreciate the new stuff with Yashahime, but it's doing a terrible job of me understanding what is happening. And so I don't know how to have those scales go in a criticism sense.
Without spoiling, I will say the recent arc, at least in the anime, I don't know about manga, the recent arc of Boruto actually changed up a couple of things. I won't get into that, but
okay.
The latest arc at least did do some different stuff and did some bold stuff.
I may have to pick it up again, because I will admit I was kind of pissed about a certain death that happened recently too.
Yeah, that I haven't seen it past what Toonami gave, but I'm just considering picking up at least at that arc. Because the other arcs are mostly nothing from what I've heard. But yeah. Anyone else have anything to say on Yashahime?
Not related to Yashahime, but check out the Inuyasha Blu-ray.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah. Also, let's not forget, we were supposed to get the season finale last month, and that didn't end up happening. So we got it at the beginning of this month. Yeah. Speaking of things being accidentally aired, how about Harley Quinn season 1 marathon?
I mean, I've watched the entirety of the first season on HBO Max, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Same. I'm happy that Toonami was able to get it. I just wish Toonami get more DC stuff. Anyway,
can we get more DC stuff outside of promotional nights just to advertise other movies?
But we can't, because they got HBO Max to promote.
I mean, we have to wait for DC fandom and stuff like that.
And like these are mainly just used to promote DC fandom, certain movies, Suicide Squad, like the good example. The Batman. What is that? April or February that comes out this year? I'm
March.
gonna guarantee March.
Something like
I'm gonna guarantee we'll probably get like another Batman movie like that, like the weekend it comes out. Guarantee. Like I'm gonna call that right now. But
what one is my question?
we could talk about that when we get to the future segment.
Yeah,
Like I haven't seen Harley Quinn. Like I heard about it, but I never really had the drive to see it. So I was like, oh, they're gonna give it in one night, so then I'll check it out there. I saw like the first couple episodes and I ended up knocking out. And then I later come to find out that they didn't even air the last episode of the first season. That they accidentally aired an earlier one, and that's most likely not going to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought it was pretty neat, like, and it was pretty interesting. Also, the main character, also the person who voices Harley is Kaylee Cuoco from Big Bang Theory, and I've seen Big Bang Theory, and I'm just like, hey, that's Penny.
Yeah,
didn't even know
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I guess this would be the one show on Toonami that we have like Alan Tudyk on here, or that one actress from The Big Bang Theory.
Where's my
Jason
goddamn? Where's
Jason
my goddamn
Alexander.
electric car?
Wayne Tech promised an electric car by this year. I put a deposit down. Where's my goddamn electric car, Bruce?
I was asleep during that.
I really
that
like
alone.
the Harley Quinn show. I wish Toonami would get more DC stuff, but the Harley Quinn show is pretty good. And I was glad that I was able to jump on the block.
Why don't they get?
As brief as it was.
We get Young Justice. Aren't they like doing heavy promotion on that? Like they got a new season. That'd be cool.
That's the thing. Like it's back. It's on HBO Max, but they're not heavily promoting it at all. It's like
it'd be cool if we could. It'd be cool if say Toonami could air it. That just throwing some ideas.
Maybe if they didn't write it off like every other show.
Speaking of write-offs, HBO Max in the Caribbean has made us XLR.
What the fuck, Warner Brothers? Put it on the American.
I mean,
HBO Max. Come on.
If you put a VPN, you're good.
But what if some of us are too lazy for a VPN?
Yeah.
That's how I've been watching Vinland Saga.
Hey, I'll get a VPN when the podcast gets a NordVPN sponsorship or something. You know, hey Nord, hit us up.
Hit us up.
So anyway,
maybe not Raid Shadow Legends, but
anyway, anyone have anything else to say on Harley Quinn?
Yeah, I unfortunately I didn't get to watch it because I was at Otakon that weekend, and especially because I'm based on the West Coast, and so the time difference, even though I'd been there for a few days, was kind of kicking my ass. So staying up till midnight, even though because again the time difference and everything, it screwed me up. I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna go to bed now. So I unfortunately completely missed it, but. Every clip I've seen of it, I've liked. So one of these days, I'll get around to watching it.
Yeah, the whole electric car thing got me intrigued. So I ended up watching the whole 2 seasons.
All right. So finally, the first big thing. I don't want to say the first big thing. I mean, we had Cosmo Samurai, but like one of the biggest things to happen in Toonami. The premiere of the first Adult Swim Crunchyroll partnership, the original Fena Pirate Princess.
Which Crunchyroll is now owned by Sony.
Yep. Because you gotta love corporate syndication.
Yep.
But anyway, Fena. How did y'all feel about Fena?
I liked it. I thought personally, I found it was a little slow to start with, but after, this jumps a little forward to when they re-aired the whole show as a Halloween marathon. Rewatching the early episodes again, I feel like I appreciated them better after having seen the show through all the way once. It was. I liked it. You know, I thought they took it in an interesting direction.
This was Blade
You know.
Runner.
Oh no, we're talking about Fena,
No,
Pirate
but
Princess.
Fena.
Yeah.
What was it?
Fena.
Pirate Princess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the girl that becomes a pirate and she's a princess.
Yes.
Even though they barely do any pirating at all, and that's the name of the
But
show.
the animation was nice.
It was neat. I mean, production IG is always on point.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they did Star Wars Vision.
Mm-hmm.
But I found the show pretty interesting and neat. Like Fena, it's an interesting character. I just kind of wish she did more. Like I thought that there was some sort of potential when there was like that one episode where she was like, "Teach me how to fight," and I'm like, okay. So then I'm thinking to myself, so she's probably gonna be like all helpless and stuff like now, but maybe like like in the future, she like because it like I was like putting speculation in my head. I was like, oh, Yukimaru saves her and all that. And then when that episode came out of, oh, she wants to learn to use a weapon or learn how to fight, I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be pretty neat if she, like, say in the future she was the one to save him? Like, that'd be cool or something. But like, I mean, like, it's too early to say. Like maybe we'll get like a second season. Who knows? I don't know.
It feels like there's one to set up for another season.
But yeah, so like, I'm hoping that more happens. But it's also like I don't know how you continue from that. Like, there's still stuff that I don't get. Is there some sort of like magic? I don't want to say magic, like type of system, but there's definitely some supernatural stuff going on that could use some more explaining.
It's another one. It's another one of those confusing reset button endings that's like super ambiguous, like the end of Big O season 2. You know, it just it resets itself, and it's like, okay, so wait, like things are different, but they're the same. Like, are we just stuck in a time loop? Like, what's going on here? Like, and that's where you kind of have that potential for another season. But you know, whether they go that route or not, who knows? And realistically, if they do, you know, unlike a lot of these, you know, manga adaptation shows and stuff that we see, you know, if Adult Swim themselves or, you know, in partnership with Crunchyroll, if they still, you know, have to work with them or however all that's going to work, you know, we'd be looking at potentially 2024 or 2025 before we could maybe even see some of these because of how far out these studio schedules are now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I found like I don't know, so, like I found Fena, like there was also like some points to where like it was kind of rushed in some spots too, like introducing this guy like Abel, like he's trying to reunite with his love, but like we could have used more of an explanation on Fena's mother, because like she just gets brushed like in a couple moments here and there. Like, what was going on with that? Like they definitely like could have touched up more in regards to like a couple of the backstories, which I'm hoping that they do like in a few, like they say, in a future season or something. Because yeah, I mean, like they did leave room to open. Like, although I found the last episode so trippy, like Steven said it the best when they were giving it, what in the Evangelion is going on? It was like reset everything. It was like, and then you just see like a sequence to where like they essentially just pulled Noah's Ark, and it's like we're on a giant ship with animals and blah blah blah. Like the world has ended and we need to start over again. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what the hell is going on here?
Exactly.
And then she just essentially ascended, like into godhood, and it's and all of a sudden it's like she has amnesia or something. Like, so yeah, like they're definitely it's great. Like, I enjoyed it. I just felt like there could have been like maybe a little more to tell. Like, maybe could have used more than 12 episodes. What do you guys think?
So, I actually fell off. Just again, going with the theme of this episode, just so many of these shows, I'm just like, the first couple episodes kind of hook me. I'm interested. I'm trying to care about what's going on, trying to follow the story and everything, and then it just goes in. Just every single one of these shows that we've talked about up until this point have just hit this lull in the middle of the show or in the middle of the season or whatever, but they just hit this lull where it's just like, you lost me. You had me, and then you just lost me. And because I actually, this was another show that I was interested in the beginning, and there was just constantly just things happen, and I don't understand the ultimate goal. And now finding out the ending, I'm kind of glad I fell off, because like I would have been confused if it turned into a Noah's Ark, Fenya turned into a god or whatever, setting up for a sequel. Because that's ridiculous, because none of that I feel like wasn't even alluded to or even has any payoff, setup or payoff in the beginning. Like I said, it just hits this wall that loses my interest. There's got to be some kind of plot that keeps you hooked, that keeps you going. Make it a mystery. Make it a mystery. Make it like, you set up something interesting where it's like the audience is engaged, where you're trying to figure it out, and you gotta wait till next week to figure it out and everything. I didn't get that. It was just Fenya's a princess. It felt like Pirates of the Caribbean without the fun Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. It's just sitting on a submarine boat thing, people talking. The swordsman guy and Fenya are constantly stoically flirting with each other.
In a will they, won't they?
Yeah, and it's just like I've seen this so many times, and it's just a lull. I guess I'm biased because I've seen this so many times though too, but it's not done in an interesting way. It's not. Like I said, it just lost my interest, because I'm just like, there's nothing. You hook me initially, and you lose my interest because nothing really happens until like the third act. The whole middle part that's supposed to keep you engaged and build up to the final act, you lose your audience right there because you don't do anything with it.
I mean, not to mention they introduced like so many questions and like no answers.
I mean, again, the animation
that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just if it depends on what the questions are, but even still, like you gotta have some progression, and it just feels like the questions that come up and the character development, there isn't any really, especially with Fenya. Like how you were saying, like I remember that episode when she's like, train me I want to know how to shoot a gun. I want to be able to defend myself.
Yeah, like
that was the last episode I remember. That was the last episode I remember, because I remember watching the preview afterwards, and they don't do that. The next episode, I think they're in town, and she gets attacked and everything, and none of that training was applied in the sequence.
Like, that was like one of my bigger disappointments. It was like she wants to learn how to fight, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna be so cool. Like, oh, maybe in the future she's gonna learn how to like move and fight like them. And I'm like thinking to myself, oh, wouldn't it be cool if, say, Yukimaru, who's always saving her, he's the one that needs saving? Like, that'd be so freaking sweet. And it's like, no, it's like, nope. Like Jason was also saying that like something about a lack of shoujo. I think that's what it was. Like, he was asking about, like, I remember there was he had a question. It was like, what shoujo shows would you like to see on Toonami? Because he was talking about, I remember he mentioned a lack of shoujo anime. Which is I think it's like essentially shonen, but the protagonist is a female.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
But this thing, like, I don't know, like, would you call this? This didn't feel like a shoujo, at least in my opinion.
I mean, it kind of skews that way. I mean, I mean, you could argue that something like Inuyasha and Yashahime are. You know, the thing is, you know, it's kind of hard to put those labels on things. I mean, it's easy to do so, and yet at the same time, it's difficult.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, I liked the show. You know, I feel like it speaks to, and you know, it's another one of those things where you kind of go back and forth on it, where it's like, you know, the length of some of these shows, it feels like at times they're afraid to slow the plot down and give us the character building that the shows need.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that feels like we talked about this offline before we started recording, and it's, you know, they feel like they're so stuck in Japanese broadcast slots as far as like the show is 11 to 13 episodes, or it's 24 to 26 episodes, or so on and so forth. And, you know, I feel like, especially for these Toonami originals, if they were to just, you know, step back and go, what if we made this 15 episodes, or what if we made this 18 episodes? You know, but at the same time, I also feel like, how much are the people in charge worried about, you know, Toonami's an action block, and that's what everybody sees it as. And, you know, if we slow it down and we have an episode where everybody's just talking, you know, are we going to lose the audience? And
Toonami's
you know,
an action block, and yet we've had shows like Food Wars.
Right, and you know, I mean, of course, you know, you can always twist stuff into, you know, well, it's you know, dramatic cooking action, and you know, you can always twist that stuff around. It's really easy, but it's like, you know, I guess I look at stuff like Sword Art Online, where not every episode is an action episode. I mean, you know, I've clowned on the show before because it's, you know, I found it.
It's Sword Art.
Yeah, but like take the episode where Kirito and Asuna are in the cabin, and they end up getting Yui, the little AI fairy thing. That episode really, I mean, okay, yeah, you can argue there's a little bit of action because I think there's a fight scene in it or whatever, but you know, that's a slow character building episode, and I don't remember anybody complaining about that. I mean, and okay, yeah, it's Sword Art Online, and it was, you know, the big hotness at the time, and still is, but I don't think, you know, I don't think they need to be afraid of slowing things down if they can afford to, you know, put that into the episode budget. Like, it's not padding the show out if you're actually building your characters.
Yeah. To kind of piggyback on that point, like, even comparing it, like, let's look at the quintessential Toonami show, in my opinion, Dragon Ball Z. What were some of the best parts of Dragon Ball Z?
Driving.
Yeah, everybody loves that episode, and that's a freaking filler episode. Like,
driving. Everyone loved the baseball episode in Super with Yamcha and everything. Like,
oh, God.
But even in regards to that as well, I would even make the argument that like some of the best like character development moments, like Dragon Ball Z, as you know, as goofy and as ridiculous as it gets sometimes, you know, Vegeta sacrificing himself against Majin Buu, and he spends like a quarter of the episode, you know, even like disregarding like the action stuff, like he knocks out Trunks, gives him to Piccolo to save him, and that interaction between Piccolo and Vegeta, Piccolo giving Vegeta respect of like, okay, I know what you're doing, and then taking the time of not just like going into the action and blowing himself up. They wait on it just for a little bit for Vegeta to say his final condolences to Bulma, Trunks, and Goku at the end. You know, you have those character moments.
Yeah,
even sprinkled into the action, and there's just nowadays it's more of action, or talky, and there's no mix of the two really. There's no pacing to it.
I have somewhat of a good example, although it's going to get me roasted hard right now. Jujutsu Kaisen does a really good balance.
It's never coming to Toonami.
It does a really good balance between action and talking, because there are a lot of moments, like, it's not like there'll never be an episode, well, maybe, I gotta look, like, there will never be an episode where it's just talking. Like stuff will happen, but they do spend a considerate amount of time, like, just like talking about their roles. and like their wants and needs and all that. And that's like some interesting stuff there. And they always found a good balance between that and the action. But yeah. We were still talking about Fena.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that one show's never coming.
Anyway, no. Anyway, Fena done. All right. The next thing it says here is Food Wars Season 4, but I feel like we already did a good talk on it.
Yeah, honestly,
Food
there's
Wars.
not much to say there because I mean it pretty much just went straight from Season 3 to Season 4. So
Yeah, like I mean, like a lot of us thought that they wouldn't do Season 4 just because, like, considering that they Season 2 and 3 took a hiatus, so like you would just assume Season 4 would too, but no, they aired it, and now the question is, will we get 5? But going on to the next thing, we had somewhat of a milestone. Black Clover ended. Like one of the long runners.
Yeah, when I wrote up our outline for kind of the eventful stuff, I purposely kept Black Clover's return to the block out of when it came back, because it actually came back to the block it was either January or February. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but it actually did return to the block. It had gone on a break, from when it originally, because it premiered back in like 2017 or something like that. But like it was off the block for a while, and then it came back early in the year. But I felt like reaching its finale made more sense to talk about it here.
What was I gonna say? It was mainly because of COVID, and like they were eventually reaching the points of like that they were gonna hit. That like these dub episodes weren't coming fast enough, so they had to put Black Clover on pause. Like the same thing happened to JoJo last year. So like like a lot of us saw it coming because it was like they're running so close to running out of Black Clover. And when it was taken off, it was like, yeah, we saw it coming. And then it came back. We were in like a filler period at that time because like we had finished like the Elf arc. Now there was the Spade arc, but then we were just in this period of filler where they're training for Spade. But then the Spade arc came, and like that time skip happened, and I was somewhat blown away. Like, I just remember when they announced it, like, they made a big deal out of it. They were like, oh man, you guys are ready for the Spade arc? It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. The Spade arc happens, and then literally not that long into it, they announced that the anime's coming to an end. I was like, so many Black Clover fans were upset. I remember that day, like Steven especially. Because it was like, you just hyped up this big arc coming to the show, and shortly after that arc comes, you just end it.
Ouch.
But I like considering that they went all in though, like in those last couple episodes, like it's so surreal to see like Asta and Yami like team up against that one devil guy, and he gave him his sword too. Like that was so freaking huge. And like Asta summoning out his devil, and there's like a bunch of stuff gonna be happening now. Like I'm not a manga reader, and I know the manga is still going, so it's gonna be interesting. I'm thinking somewhat of picking up the manga. I'm not too sure yet though. What do y'all have to say?
I kind of fell off it, but like for me, I feel like the biggest thing that was notable for it was less to do with the show itself and more of what it was starting to spell for the block, because even with the break that it took, this was I believe at that point the longest running consecutive show that we'd had on the block all year, and that dropping off kind of to me spelled a sign of what we could expect for the rest of the last quarter of the year.
That Black Clover ending was the first of the question that we're still asking to this day, but let's save that for the end of the podcast. So anyone have anything else to say on Black Clover before we move on?
No, let's just move on to DC fandom.
So
Black
yeah,
Clover?
yeah.
I don't really have anything to say with Black Clover. I have my opinions about it. I was not the biggest fan of it. Sorry, Black Clover.
If I'm gonna be honest, in the beginning I wasn't either. Like as it was when we were getting to the elf stuff and like the whole war and that takeover, I started diving more deep into it, and then like the fight against that one devil. That's when I was like getting into it. So like I didn't like it at first, but I got into it. So after Black Clover ends, we then have beginning. Oh shit!
We begin to die.
Yes, the beginning of the downfall. As we only like for the entire month of October, we only had 2 weeks of normal Toonami. The last 3 weeks of October were different, where we had 2 nights of DC and a Fena Halloween marathon. So we had Batman Ninja, Batman Under the Red Hood, and the 2 parts to Long Halloween. A Long Halloween surprised me because literally that came out in 2021. Like that was fresh. And I didn't think that we were going to see something that brand spanking new on the block, but I was surprised. I guess to go in order, if you could talk about Ninja first.
I mean, I'll be straightforward. I haven't seen any of the 3 movies.
Yeah, I watched Batman Ninja when it originally came out. I mean, and I liked it. I mean, I thought it was a different take. I know it'd be kind of divisive with people, and you know, as I recall, it actually did have like a Japanese like. I mean, I don't know if I guess which one you call the dub, because if I remember right, it was animated by a Japanese studio. So, you know, I'm not really sure which direction it goes on that, but you know, I remember people had mixed thoughts on it, and you know, I enjoyed it. I mean, I figure, you know, it's Batman. I mean, you know, how wrong can you go with Batman?
Like the one thing that put me off was just like everyone was 3D, but yet there were small wrinkles where if they were like zoomed out, you could see them in 2D, and it's like, in my opinion, they look so much better in 2D. It was like I felt like this movie should have just been a 2D movie. Like God, like have like Gotham Knight, for example, that anthology series is like you saw many different anime studios take on Batman, and it's like want more of that. I mean, not to say that the 3D was bad, but like whenever there was like a rare shot of them in 2D, like they instantly looked much better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, and then it was also kind of wacky. Is like, how do we have the Batmobile, like all this freaking tech in feudal Japan, and then all of it, and then I'm sorry, this is like the one thing was like, how do you get even crazier? Just summon an insane number of monkeys to form one giant kaiju battle, and it's just like what, like that put me off some. Oh, and then there was like this one random trippy sequence where like it was 2D for a moment, and it was like Joker and like Harley Quinn, I guess, lost their memories and became like farmers, but like Red Hood was beating the shit out of them, and then Batman told them to stop, and it was all in this weird art style, like all those creepy paintings.
Yeah,
like pretty much Batman Ninja.
Yeah.
And then we had Under the Red Hood. Like I actually kind of knew, like I didn't see the movie, but I knew the story of Red Hood. Like I knew like the story of like Jason Todd and all that. I played Batman Arkham series, okay, so I know some Batman lore. So yeah, I know like the first Robin was Dick Grayson, the second one was Jason Todd. Jason Todd would eventually get killed by Joker. So like I knew like instantly like Red Hood. So it's gonna be like a and like I never seen that movie, but I was interested. Like it was interesting. I was like
The Under the Red Hood movie is pretty good. It does a good adaptation of the comic manga, the comic and everything.
Yeah, Batman's actually a manga.
Yeah,
American manga.
And I believe Jason Todd was the second Robin in Tim Drake was the third Robin. He came after Jason Todd, to my understanding. I think.
Yeah, it was like first Dick Grayson, but then he became Nightwing.
Yeah.
And then Jason Todd, and then Tim Drake.
Yep. I actually wasn't the biggest fan of Batman Ninja though. I thought it was okay, but I thought it wasn't what I thought, and I hated the 3D CGI. Whatever animation style they did was kind of disappointing. I kind of wish they went with a more traditional animation style than what they used for that movie.
Like I said, those rare moments you caught them in 2D, they look so much better.
Yes. Agreed 100%.
And then we had Batman: The Long Halloween parts 1 and 2. They aired them in one night. This one would surprise me just because, like, I knew, like, when it was coming out on, like, Blu-ray and stuff, like, a bunch of people were excited because, like I usually kind of scoff at a lot of these, like, direct-to-home video streaming DC movies. Like, I know apparently it's like they have their own universe. Like, a lot of these DC animated movies take place in their own universe, apparently. Like, when they gave that Wonder Woman movie last year or the year before, apparently that was like a part of that universe, which is why they like so casually mentioned you fought alongside the Justice League and put a stop to Darkseid. And it was like, wait, what? When did this happen? And it was like, oh, it turns out that there was a Justice League movie that took place before the Wonder Woman movie. But The Long Halloween, that was more of a more like gritty, like, you know, like, but not just like Batman's always been like somewhat of a detective show. So like, who's killing all these people on, you know, on these holidays? And I was like, oh, it's interesting that the first kill happens on Halloween. The last kill happens on the next year on Halloween. And then, you know, you see the origin of Two-Face, and it was just going all over the place sometimes. Like, how did you guys feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. You know, I thought, like you said, it was surprising that they would air something that recent because, I mean, the second part, I mean, I think both parts came out in like May and June or June and July, something like that. So, you know, for them to you know, have that airing on TV that quickly, you know, compared to stuff like Under the Red Hood, which I think was something like 11 years old at that point, like it was kind of surprising. But I mean, yeah, I liked it. Like you said, you know, it felt a little more like kind of the old detective kind of Batman. But yeah, I mean, you know, again, like I said before, it's Batman. I mean,
like,
but what can you say? But it's Batman.
I mean, like, it was also October. It was Halloween. Ooh, what better to have? Like, I don't get, like, they gave Batman: The Long Halloween the weekend before Halloween, and then the weekend of Halloween they give a Phantom Marathon. They didn't even keep the Halloween aesthetic. Like they had the Halloween aesthetic during Batman, but yet on the actual weekend of Halloween they didn't have it. Which why? Like, I don't get.
I mean, realistically, if I had to guess why, it's because Halloween itself was on Sunday that weekend. So, you know, people may not necessarily have intended, you know, if people were going to Halloween parties, you know, insert argument about whether that was a good idea with COVID, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. But, you know, I have a feeling that bringing, even as a one-off, you know, bringing something like Batman on, you know, doing it the week before when people weren't as likely to be out at stuff, I can see why they would do that. I mean, it still seemed a little baffling, but, you know, it makes sense, I guess. Yeah.
So, I doubt anyone has anything else to say on these Batman movies. November started.
Well, I did. I mean, generally curious about DC fandom. Did anybody had like any interest in any of the announcements they made?
I'm hearing a lot of word.
I don't remember what they announced at that particular.
Yeah,
one,
same.
I mean, other than updating us on like Black Adam, The Flash.
Here, let me see if I can find it real quick.
I mean, like in terms of movies, I know Flash, Black Adam, Shazam 2, Aquaman 2. There was something else.
Peacemaker.
Oh yeah, the Peacemaker show that came out. I still have yet to see it.
Same here. Okay, I think I found it.
And then like I'm also hearing rumbling that the Flash movie is essentially gonna erase the DC Universe movie canon.
The Snyderverse, yeah.
The Snyderverse.
And it's just like I kind of find that disappointing because I really enjoyed the Justice League Snyder cut, and so I really would have.
I feel like they just the executives meddled with the Zack Snyder Justice League movie.
Yes.
Well, I mean, realistically, you know, it feels like the executives meddled with everything that they've been trying to build, and
I mean, they're trying to be Marvel when they're not Marvel.
Well, more like they tried Russian.
Yeah,
like,
right. Well,
like
that was the problem, was they wanted so badly to have their Avengers moment, but they didn't give themselves time to build their characters before you threw them in Justice League. And I mean, you know, obviously no disrespect to Zack Snyder, you know, because he had to step away from Justice League originally due to the stuff that happened with his family, and you know, I can completely respect that. Oh, absolutely. But like, you know, even then, you know, you kind of want to feel like, where was he pushing back and going like, we're not ready for this, like we shouldn't be doing this yet? And you know, granted, I mean, you know, his cut of the movie is you know, it's frankly it's a massive improvement over the
like very
the theatrical
cut and the Joss Whedon cut.
You just don't put Josh Whedon in control to fix things.
Well,
like,
I remember, it's funny because that's the Avengers moment too. Is
yeah,
like,
that's
who
why they
that?
picked them, because of the Avengers.
Exactly, and it's like the executives wanted their Avengers moment, and literally, who better to do the Avengers moment than the guy who made the Avengers?
The Avengers, yeah.
Like,
so it's fun. So I follow this YouTube channel called Midnight's Edge on YouTube, and they kind of go into this. They kind of go into that a lot. They go into like they basically report on like rumors and stuff like that in regards to like DC and Warner Brothers versus Star Wars type of things and stuff like that. And from what I've heard, if I remember correctly, one of their videos, the DC execs really meddled with like the behind the scenes with Zack Snyder, where he was trying, because originally his Justice League was supposed to be a two-parter. So even the Snyder cut that we got isn't
4 hours long.
It's 4 hours long, and it still is technically not the true Snyder version. It was supposed to be a two-parter, Justice League 1 and 2. And if I remember correctly, Batman vs. Superman wasn't supposed to be Batman vs. Superman, but it was supposed to be Man of Steel 2. The whole thing got blown up and everything. And the whole thing with Snyder's, unfortunate passing of his son or daughter.
It was daughter.
Daughter, yeah. That also didn't help as well. And to my understanding, because that happened, they basically used that to basically push Snyder aside, hire Joss Whedon, and move forward with the reboot, The Batman, which is coming out this year. Which is why I have my personal gripes with the Batman movie on a personal level, because that movie is basically being made to try to reboot Batman and throw the whole Snyderverse Batman to the side, and is also why Ben Affleck is part of the reason why Ben Affleck isn't doing that anymore, because Ben Affleck was supposed to have complete control. They basically took that away from him and moved forward with the Batman, pretty much. So,
originally, the Batman movie was supposed to be a solo Ben Affleck Batman film, but like so much like stuff happened that he stepped away. Not to mention that they confirmed that he is in the Flash movie, but they also confirmed that it will be his last one.
So he's probably going to die or something.
So, well, there's a lot of heavy rumors that they're gonna. That because it's the Flash, that they're probably going to erase the DC EU canon. Like that they're essentially gonna erase all that.
The Snyderverse,
which well, because apparently we're also supposed to get Michael Keaton Batman too.
Yes.
I mean,
anyway,
I'm okay with that.
So moving on. Like
I would like to keep dragging on and mention come learn with Tibby, but we can move on.
I could talk about this topic for a while.
So
but we can move on to November.
Another big milestone. We got the premiere of the next Crunchyroll collaboration, Blade Runner Black Lotus.
And one that we're going to hear about a lot.
If you really don't like this show, well, too bad, because you get a fucking marathon.
Let's watch the first episode for the 6th time in a row. Like, we're riffing, but like, this was when we started to see like the not I don't want to call it a downfall, but like that they really had nothing else this year.
It was when they really started to struggle, I think would be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So like, we have Blade Runner Black. Let's talk about the show in general first. I never really seen any Blade Runner stuff before. Hell, like I was originally planning to watch the original movie in 2049 before the show came out, but I never got around to it. Show came out like me not having seen any prior material. The first 2 episodes were solid. Eventually, the next week they did give 2049, so I at least have that in my knowledge. I don't know. How do you guys feel about it?
I like the show. I've seen mixed complaints on whether it feels too like it plays things too safe, or I saw people commenting on the most recent episode saying that a particular reveal, which I'm not going to say anything about in case people haven't caught up, but that it felt too phoned in. And then I've seen the counterpoints that like if you paid attention last week, then it wasn't really phoned in because it was obvious. I mean, it's hard because you're trying to expand on a universe that literally, it was formed in 1982. I mean, ignoring the original story that the Blade Runner movie was based on, but like you're expanding a universe that didn't have any other true material to it until 2049 came out, and that was what 4 years ago or something like that. So it's like, all of a sudden now we've got, a couple of anime short sequels, and now this CGI co-production, and there's just so many. It's hard because, again, like I said, you're trying to expand the universe on something that has not had anything else to it, and so it's easy to nitpick what they're doing and whether it fits or not. I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, like the other day, like essentially, like they were saying, like if you have seen the 2 movies, then you're gonna call out, you're gonna predict stuff easily. Like Steven and Silver were able to call so much, like in the like what they called out so many story beats, like it wasn't even funny. Yeah, like Silver said it the best. Like I'll find that tweet.
Okay. So I'd probably be that guy if I actually continued watching it.
But another thing, like it was a CG. Like when they announced the Blade Runner anime, I was like, oh, that's gonna be pretty neat. And then like me too, like put off by the fact that it was gonna be like 3D CG, and it's like.
Especially when you had the blackout short, it's like that itself had kind of cemented itself as like, oh, this is what we can expect, and it really wasn't.
Oh yeah, like Silver said that like, oh, Blade Runner has a series problem where it's a series clearly made for Blade Runner fans, yet if you've seen both movies, it's very predictable, and that him and Steven have basically called like every twist and like most of the story beats, and that's not really a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say. So I'm into filmmaking. I am a big fan of the original Blade Runner. I'm a fan of the sequel. I think the sequel's pretty good too. The original Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies on a special effects sense. Story-wise, depending on which cut you watch. But so I have a good background with Blade Runner. And unfortunately for me, I fell off from the show. Again, continuing the theme of a lot of the shows that we've talked about already. And I hate to sound like a broken record again. But I pretty much had the same issues as I had with the previous shows that we've talked about on this podcast so far. Is that, like, and especially with Blade Runner, this was actually one of my most anticipated shows. And I was a little nervous with the 3D CGI. I was really disappointed with that, especially with production IG behind the helm of the animation, because you have a property for Blade Runner. These guys did Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is literally exactly Blade Runner. And you didn't do it in any... Anyway, so there's that. But I fell off from the story, and I don't, because we were talking about it before on before we started actually recording, and it's a common thing that I've noticed when not to throw shade at Jason DeMarco, because I love Jason DeMarco, but I feel like Jason DeMarco, did he have a hand in this show? Is
yes,
he a producer?
I think so. Maybe I know he was a producer in Fena.
Okay, let me see real quick.
I mean, to be honest, he's probably a producer on all of them, because it's
yeah.
I mean, more likely an executive producing role.
Yeah.
But I don't think what helped also was the millions and millions of reruns and marathons that we had gotten with this show. Like, if we're gonna dive into this, like, we were excited for the show, but like literally in the month alone that it premieres, we've had not one, not two, not even three. We had 4 marathons of Blade Runner spanning a single month.
Yeah, when you keep rerunning the first episode or the first 2 episodes or whatever chunk of episodes you're rerunning repeatedly, those episodes start to get really draining. And I mean, of course, people can make the argument of, well, if you've seen it, just don't watch it. Well, yeah, but I mean, a lot of us will admit, we'll watch the block even if we're not fully paying attention to a particular show because we've seen it, because we want to see if they bring us a movie review or a game review or a video game or a speech or something. One of the Toonami packaging components.
Yeah, not to mention one of the first marathon, and this was
interesting.
This. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you gonna say something?
Well, yeah, so I was looking into it. I don't see any connection with Jason DeMarco, so I take that back. But having said that, though,
he is a big Blade Runner fan.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's maybe why the connection, because he probably wanted it to be on Toonami really badly. But having said that, to go to your points, though, I actually do kind of defend the reruns part of it, because I mean, it's clear that Black Lotus, Blade Runner is pretty much their Dragon Ball Z right now. Like, that's the show that they can just throw in, and I mean, it doesn't do as well as Dragon Ball, obviously, but it's pretty clear that they're trying to really push that show. That's how I kind of look at it in regards to that. But basically what I was saying, though, with the storyline and everything, and how I kind of lost interest in it, was that a common thing that I've noticed with, like, when I feel like Jason DeMarco is kind of like the head director and writer of things, the character development kind of falls to the side. It's really just like, we got to get to the action, we got to get to the action, we got to get to the action. And it just, again, like how we were saying, like the show's kind of hit this lull in between. the same thing applies when it's just simply action, 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 in my opinion. And that's what kind of got me, because the first like 2-3 episodes, I was kind of interested, but it just got into this lull of Black Lotus just like doing, like, again, I'm having difficulty just following the storyline of these shows of like, what is the goal that the main character is trying to accomplish? And I understand Blade Runner is kind of doing like this mystery angle to it, but still, she's just going around and causing havoc, and it's not accomplishing anything until, I assume, later in the episodes. I think she's a replicant later in the show. I don't know for sure though.
Like she's essentially like going on revenge, and like killing
I remember
everyone.
that part. Yeah.
And like the recent episode did kind of deliver a bit of a bombshell. I won't say that though. For spoiler's sake.
If you could put, if you want to put it in the chat, that's cool. But yeah, just like I said, it just hit this lull where I lose interest in it, and I honestly thought like it was going to be like some like a show that kind of builds the lore in the Blade Runner series, and it kind of fails at even doing that. Again, I haven't finished the entire show because again I fell off from it, but it just lost my interest, and that was kind of my hype about it because I was really interested in where the show was going to take it. But like you said, it's basically just a simple revenge story just set in the Blade Runner universe, and it's just like, okay. I feel like a broken record at this point.
But I mean, of course,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, of course, they played Blade Runner 2049 on the block with no
sort of
Toonami theming.
So yeah, that's like a perfect segue into the next topic. Like, we had like somewhat of a big type of news that for the first time in over 10 years, like Toonami was going outside of Saturday on a Friday, and not only that, they were airing something live action. They were gonna give the Blackout 2022 short at 2049, and at the end, the first 3 episodes of Black Lotus. The big deal was it was on a Friday, and not only that, like that was such a huge thing. Like they were advertising this too, like as a Toonami promo. They were literally like, Friday only Toonami on Adult Swim. So we're like, Friday's Toonami night, guys. Let's go. The guys still hate me to this day. I said something that jinxed the rest of the night. Literally 15 minutes before the show started, I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if they just, like started giving the movie and stuff with like
no packaging,
no packaging, and then like
there was none.
And then there was none.
Yeah.
Like they literally just like
went right into it.
They gave the movie the short in Black Lotus as with no Toonami branding whatsoever. It was just acting as if it was another Adult Swim night. The only thing that made it look like Toonami was that it had 2 bumpers. Literally, that was it. It was like, oh, Blade Runner 2049 up next, and it was like, oh, Blade Runner Black Lotus up next, and that was it. It's like, we didn't have Tom, we didn't have Sarah. Like, why were you gonna advertise this as a Toonami night?
I was working that night.
Well, and this kind of goes into what we see in December too, and that's that. In a sense, it feels almost like the right hand's not talking to the left hand about what's going on, because we continued to get even more Blade Runner marathons into December, which is another example of just how desperate things were getting for the block. But like, how many times did they tell us like, oh, we're gonna run the Rick and Morty anime shorts, and they were thrown out as part of the schedule, and Silver and Steven built all this stuff ready for it, and every single time it never aired as part of the block. And
it always ended right before it.
Yeah, and so it's like even through December, again, we got several marathons of Black Lotus again. We touched on it when we were talking about Yashahime earlier. The
Yashahime.
The finale was there, and they ran the wrong episode. Like, it feels like there was a lot of the right hand and the left hand weren't talking to each other with any of this stuff. The packaging, the Rick and Morty shorts, the wrong episode airing. Like there was a lot of miscommunication and potentially lack of communication. And again, we went through December wondering, our original plan had been to record this podcast several weeks ago because we figured by that point we'd have an idea of what the schedule was going to look like going into January. And even the fans were in the dark. We had no idea what was going on. And, things were looking very dire because, again, there was so much up in the air of what's going on. And every time we'd get another marathon announcement, it was like, well, this sucks. But at the same time, it's like, what else are they going to do?
Yeah.
Like, and then they announced like the Animatrix, and like, of course, to promote the new Matrix movie. As someone who never seen the Matrix, it was, it's not like it was like, oh, part of the lore. It was an anthology. Like, the most, like, I get, like, how the world of the Matrix came to be, because it's first short.
Right.
But, and then what's funny, literally, like, they would say that for Batman and the other night, they would say the Rick and Morty shorts are in the block, and they would end it with the Rick and Morty shorts. But the block would end right before the Rick and Morty shorts. For Animatrix, they literally said, Blade Runner, the Animatrix. After that, Rick and Morty shorts. After the Rick and Morty shorts, Dragon Ball Super. So we're like, okay, so they have to put Rick and Morty as part of the block if Super is on after it, and they still ended Toonami after Animatrix, and apparently Super just aired with normal Adult Swim packaging, which just blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of brings us up to the topic that this podcast would have been up sooner, but we kept delaying it because we wanted to wait until we knew the plans for 2022. Like, to go all the way back, Black Clover was kind of the start of the struggle. There was nothing replacing Black Clover. As
I recall, My Hero came to an end sometime around then too.
Yeah, so then they put Fena on as reruns, and then Blade Runner was coming on, but that still left one slot. So we're like, okay, so what's that one slot going to be? It's just another episode of Yashahime. They kept doubling Yashahime week after week. Eventually, Food Wars ended. And we're like, okay, we have to get some new. Food Wars just ended. They're doubling on Yashahime. What are they going to do? Triple Yashahime. Like they triple ended Yashahime. Well, it's supposed to triple decker end.
Right.
Then the last episode didn't air.
Jason was surprisingly forthcoming. Knowing as much as I do about the the inside works of the industry. He was surprisingly forthcoming about the fact that, everybody expected, okay, where's Demon Slayer? Like, this is a no-brainer. Like, why? Of course Demon Slayer is going to end up on the block, just like there's a new Sword Art Online. Of course we're expecting that. Attack on Titan. Of course we're expecting that. So, Demon Slayer, of course, was the no-brainer option. And, it just kept going on and on. It's like, where is it? Where is it? Like, why aren't you guys getting it? And he came out and flat out said, Sony's freezing us out, which is, again, surprisingly forthcoming about something like show negotiations. But, the reality is that, that alone explains a lot about what could potentially be going on. And, and the most recent acquisitions we've gotten on the block are, Cowboy Bebop's come back, with a not so subtle nod to doing it right after a certain streaming service and their, let's call it a botched attempt, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But we get Bebop back, which very very likely could even have been due to the same deal they signed a year earlier when they did that big best of Toonami bracket that ended up we got that Bebop marathon.
Mm-hmm.
For all we know that they're still coasting off the contract for that, and now we're finally starting to get show announcements. And okay, we got Assassination Classroom season 2, which is a Funimation show, and and then this past week we get the premiere of Made in Abyss, which is a Sentai series.
That was shocking because that same week we had news that AMC acquired Sentai. So we were like worried, like, does that mean that they have exclusivity? But then at the same time, maybe the deal for Made in Abyss was made before AMC acquired Sentai. Who knows?
Right, and so that adds another air of even with the promise that we're going to be getting a few more show announcements, the fact is that there's only really 3 distributors that deal in stuff that has TV rights, and that's Viz, Funimation, and Sentai. Some of the other shows, like in the past we've seen Lupin the Third, those kind of shows go direct through through TMS. Those kind of deals are negotiated directly, because that's just the way it works.
Yeah. So. Oh,
yeah.
sorry,
Go ahead. Okay. Well, I was gonna say, I'm assuming maybe part of the reason why, the market has kind of gotten stale is because a lot more people have jumped into it. In regards to like Netflix, Sony, all these other companies now with the streaming services, everyone's trying to snatch up shows and content for their streaming services now.
Yeah, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah,
right, and
I'm still not happy about that.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example of another show that had Viz gotten it and it hadn't gone to Netflix. I think we can all agree that there's no way it would not have gone to Toonami. I mean, it's done so well on the block as it is for the past seasons. I don't see any way that they would not have gone for it. So that does not help. And the Sentai deal does put a big question mark on what's going to happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So like essentially like, and then even like it was kind of getting real bad. Like the weekend of the 8th, we were going that week not knowing what we were getting that Saturday until Thursday at the latest. We were like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And like they say like they're going to be premiering like a new show in the next couple weeks, and it's like, and then we're literally like finding out these schedules the same week we're supposed to be getting them, and that's just like really kind of concerning. Like, I don't know, it's just like we wanted to do this podcast earlier, but we kept delaying because we were gonna wait to see what they had in store. But even to this day, we still don't know that. Sorry, you were saying?
No, I was just saying, just don't be surprised by the time this episode comes out. They've already updated their schedule.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance, because they told us last week that we could expect, several show announcements coming up. Now, we expected, with the Assassination Classroom Season 2 announcement, we figured that last weekend we would have gotten, or I should say last weekend, at the time we're recording this, it would have been it would have been the weekend of the 8th and the 9th. We expected that we would have gotten the announcement on the next show that weekend. And as I recall, we didn't get the Made in Abyss announcement until like Wednesday of this past week, so something like the 12th. And, again, we had the same thing happen this past weekend. We kind of expected that maybe we might get it, but at the same time, I think our expectations were a little more tempered by the fact that we didn't get one the week before. So sure enough, we didn't get an announcement this past weekend, and so again, we're coming into this next week, and if we get an announcement midweek, so be it. It's you gotta wonder, because it's like, how much does this hurt their ability to advertise the shows when you're only announcing them like 2 or 3 days in advance?
Again, I think it just goes to the competition. It's pretty obvious with that going on that it seems like they're really struggling to grab some shows, and pick them up and throw them on the block,
Oh, absolutely.
Like when they surprise stealth announced Assassination Classroom, like I got my hopes a little too up that, like I got my hopes really too much that night, because I'm like, oh my god, are they gonna like announce like their plans this night, just stealth drop? And then no, that was not the case at all. Like, it was just Assassination Classroom. But then I was assuming maybe every consecutive week they're gonna announce said show. Then like we get Assassination Classroom, but then who knows? Maybe they'll announce the next show for the next weekend on the block. And that's what I was thinking. But no, it's just gonna be these like just Facebook announcements, I guess. And yeah, like it's just kind of concerning. Like, I guess Demon Slayer's not coming. Like, and I guess we'll end the podcast by just giving our speculations. Like, what could the next slots be? Like, I guess we could get the obvious ones out of the way. I'm wholeheartedly assuming second half of Attack on Titans any moment now.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that one again is a no-brainer. You know, it's one of the shows that's the we expect it to show up. Like it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
I'm going to assume when Blade Runner ends, because usually when it comes to Toonami, you need to have that strong show lead in, and Attack on Titan, the first season, it used to be the starter. Like when they aired season 1, it was the starter, and so it could technically start again. Like, I hope to God they don't put Super in the beginning again. But yeah, to get like some of the more obvious ones out of the way, like no-brainer Attack on Titan. Megalobox had a second season. That could potentially be it, and that's a TMS show, isn't it?
It is, but it's under Funimation as far as I know, because I believe they just announced the Blu-rays for that are releasing in like March. But that is, that if anything, that gives it kind of a good reason why we could potentially see it, because if the Blu-rays are coming out in a couple of months, you figure a 12-episode season, that's basically 3 months on the block if there's no interruptions. Not a bad idea to hype up an upcoming Blu-ray release by putting something like that on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then there was something else. Like I'm thinking of the no-brainers right now. There was Titan. There was Megalobox. There was cause I'm thinking of like the no-brainer ones right now. Like, I don't want to go too deep, too off the rails, because I mean, I say that, but we got Made in Abyss, and a lot of people never thought Maiden.
I mean, for me, I'm looking at stuff that's got a legacy on Toonami, as far as could we see Food Wars season 5? It could just pop up out of the blue, but yeah, I think realistically it's definitely a possibility. Lupin Part 6 could be a thing, because especially now it's it's with Sentai, and if they've got a good relationship with them, there's definitely the possibility of it happening there. Like we said, Attack on Titan, stuff like Megalobox, that's all good. There's definitely a lot of options. For what we consider to be like legacy content. I mean, even second, was SSSS.
Yeah,
that's what I was about to say. That My Hero's a no-brainer. Like, that's another one of those no-brainers. But we're not getting season 6 until like fall, so I'm not expecting that on Toonami for a while.
Right,
yeah, that would make sense.
I mean, like,
maybe
and we're just naming shows that have been on the block before, like new seasons. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to name shows that haven't been on there before. You already know what I would talk about.
To be fair, Jason.
Oh yeah.
Jason has talked about that they've been trying to build up new IPs for the last like 2 or 3 years. So I'm assuming maybe some, I don't know how long it kind of, I don't know. But
well,
I would assume that maybe some new IPs may be coming down the pipe, and now's the time to kind of throw them out there a little bit,
Well, and we also have, we haven't heard very much about Shenmue in a while, but, if you take Fena as a good example, we suddenly, of course that was announced well in advance, but then they they gave us a trailer in, I think it was June, and the show premiered in early August. So, if all of a sudden we get a Shenmue trailer in February, we could see it hit the block by April. I mean, it's, you just, at this point, you never know.
Not to mention, we're also supposed to be getting Uzumaki this year.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, that's only 4 episodes from what I recall them announcing. But, hey, I said it a few weeks ago. At this point, 4 episodes is 4 episodes more than what they were batting with. I mean,
exactly.
They're at least bringing shows in now, which is good. But it's like, at this point, I'll take anything. I mean, even if they picked up and brought back Fooly Cooly 2 and 3, like, hey, yeah, it's only what, a total of 12 episodes, between the two. But hey, 12 episodes is 12 weeks of content, and you can't look a gift horse in the mouth at that point.
Yeah.
If we're talking about stuff I'd like to see, I mean, it's for me, it's a pipe dream. Just because we don't exactly know when it's going to air and whether it's going to get a dub, but because they've kind of started putting tokusatsu stuff with Gridman, one of my favorite Kamen Rider seasons is getting an anime sequel later this year called Futo PI, and I know Jason himself has mentioned that he likes Kamen Rider, and I think it'd be a good fit because it's an action detective show is basically what Double is, and so the sequel anime would be, in my opinion, a really good fit. But whether it gets dubbed, and frankly I think that the show might have a struggle grabbing on with audiences because it's a sequel to a live action show that has no official release in the US. So while you can easily build a recap episode that catches people up, having read the manga that it's based on, or at least, the first few chapters, if they don't do the anime right, there's going to be a lot of walking into it expecting the viewer to know the characters and their motivations and, and a lot of lore behind the show that you won't have if you've never seen it. So while I think it would be a good fit for the block, it's going to really depend on how the show itself launches before I would say that it would be a good fit.
Yeah, like, going on the pipe dreams, like, I got 2, actually. Like, you all already know the one of them. Like,
yeah,
it is a meme that has been driven into the ground, but, like, it is a really great show. Like, and Jujutsu Kaisen is honestly, like, one of the best modern shonens that has come out, and I've read the manga too. Like, it is astonishing to me. The first season grabbed me like so great, like, and it's so, like, the main character Yuji and just like the surrounding characters, and like I mentioned before, that they take a lot of time to build, to build their characters, build their system, and do a good balance of fighting and talking, and like, it's one of those, how has this not been on Toonami shows? And just the unfortunate part is that Crunchyroll had the exclusivity of it. But it's also, like, considering that Adult Swim has had like a good relationship with Crunchyroll, and it's on HBO Max too, I still, like, I try to keep my hopes up, but then, like, like, possibly not.
And I mean, and honestly, memes aside, having seen, even just a cursory glance at what the show is and what it's about, you're absolutely right that it would be a great fit for the block. Like, I mean, we can poke fun at the fact that you want to see it on the block, but realistically, it's all in fun. I mean, you're not wrong that it fits on the block.
Hey, I still get made fun of for bring back Megas XLR and Yu Yu Hakusho and Rurouni Kenshin, especially Rurouni Kenshin.
Oh, so, did you hear about Rurouni Kenshin, by the way?
About the writer.
Well, that they are.
I heard about that part.
Yeah, there's that, and also that they're bringing it back, like a new anime series.
Actually, yes, I did hear about that, and I know, but I'm one of those that's able to separate the artist from the art, and I want Rurouni Kenshin. I don't think Rurouni Kenshin deserves the hate because of what the writer did. I know.
Like, I could see that anime on Toonami. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No. I honestly, like, I would personally love it. The new anime for Rurouni Kenshin, I would love it. Even though I'm not sure how I would feel about it, in all honesty, because the critical side of me remembers the final season of Rurouni Kenshin and how pointlessly useless it was. It could not exist. And if Rurouni Kenshin was just the 2 seasons, phenomenal. But hey, I even in regards to with the writer and everything, Rurouni Kenshin is one of my favorite personal anime characters of all time. I look up to the character personally, and I would love more Kenshin in my life. So that's how I feel about
Yeah,
that.
I mean, what I'll say about the Kenshin stuff and the controversy in general is, I can separate the art from the artist, but I also, anybody who can't and has trouble with that, I totally respect that point of view.
Totally
too.
understand as well.
It's just one of those things that it comes down to how you can handle it personally, and
Yeah.
I personally respect either viewpoint on it, and I know where I stand on being able to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
That it's unfortunate that the baggage that would come along with it if the block did grab something like that, just because it's it's a piece
That's
of
what
art
really
that's been put in
sucks
such a
about it.
hard position.
I mean, just the damage alone on the character himself, because like Rurouni Kenshin's character is like the complete opposite of that.
Right.
So
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead. You're good.
I was just like going back on the pie change for a moment. I've already talked to Jujutsu Kaisen, but like I've also mentioned earlier, like a couple months, like earlier this month, they announced that sequel anime to one of my favorite. Like I don't talk about it a lot, but I'm a big fan of Initial D, like racing, like that whole show. It had a sequel manga that is getting an anime adaptation, and considering that they want to branch out a couple of times, like we have shows like Food Wars and Assassination Classroom, like we get this sequel series to Initial D. What if that means that we get like a HD re-release of the original series? That could be, you could potentially put that on Toonami, like the first series, and then when the sequel anime comes out, put that on there too. Like I would love to see Initial D on Toonami, but like it's one of those older animes, unfortunately, that like doesn't get a lot of attention nowadays, aside from memes. Like the only time Initial D is brought up nowadays is for Deja Vu. I've just been in this place before.
Yo, get me a sequel series for Outlaw Star pronto.
Hey, there was originally supposed to be one, and then stuff fell apart for it. I think one of the things that they need to look at is not necessarily dipping into the nostalgia well, because we've gone over that, and grabbing older stuff like Gundam Wing or whatever. But
it depends. Like, it depends on the show. Like in my opinion, like Outlaw Star, I think deserves a shot at a sequel. I think.
Well, but I mean, just for like stuff airing on the block, like
I agree.
Don't necessarily go and try and recreate Toonami of the year 2002 or anything
right.
like that.
No, of course.
But like I think that Adult Swim needs to potentially try to look at older shows that we can at least get in HD, because obviously they really don't want to run anything in upscaled SD at this point. It just doesn't look great.
No.
But like,
agreed.
There's enough stuff from like 2006, 2007 or so and onward that I imagine they could probably get the rights to pretty cheap, that would probably do well, old anime or not. Like if people haven't seen it, it's it's new to them. And
they gave Gurren Lagann in 2014, and that was like 2007, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, but Gurren Lagann does have a good following and everything, because I would agree with you, Logan, but it really depends on, because they also have to consider ratings too. Like they brought back like Hamtaro for an example, for whatever god awful reason. No one's going to watch that show though. It'd be a ratings disaster, and they still have to fit they still have to satisfy their corporate overlords, over in William Street at the end of the day.
Oh, sure. I mean,
and you
absolutely.
just triggered Steven and Silver. They're gonna get a disturbance in the force. You shit talking Hamtaro.
Well, I'm sorry. I mean, Hamtaro, I don't know. It's just not a ratings buster. We've ever since this whole fandom, or not this fandom, but like these fan sites and everything. What's the biggest thing that we always come to at the end of the day? It's the ratings. And
that's why Boruto was pulled.
Yeah, exactly. No one's interested in Boruto, even though it's a sequel to Naruto. It's not a guarantee,
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's a matter of obviously they'd have to look at what the ratings are going to do and how well they think stuff's going to hold up. But
yeah,
I just I'd hate to see them sleeping on potentially good titles that just because they're older they're sleeping on them.
Yeah, no, agreed.
It's and again it's hard because how much stuff is out there that you're actually going to be able to get an audience that hasn't already seen it. And then there's always going to be that. But by the same token, it's there's if there's anything I've learned with what I do, it's you're always going to run into somebody who hasn't seen this, and even shows that you think are quintessential. I mean, a perfect example is one of the squad members, Andre. He's never seen Cowboy Bebop,
and it's on the block. And he still hasn't live tweeted it. Sorry, I'm.
No,
but
you did.
But that's the thing is, there's always going to be that stuff out there that somebody hasn't seen. So, it's a matter of what is there that you can pick that's going to be worth putting on the block.
I mean, some of us haven't seen shows like Rise of the Shield Hero.
I haven't seen that.
Like that.
I mean, I was a late bloomer with Cowboy Bebop. Honestly, that was post original Toonami death and pre Toonami revival. Like right before the Toonami revival, I literally just finished watching Cowboy Bebop for the first time in my life.
I didn't see Bebop until I don't know what exact year. I wasn't watching Toonami. No, I was watching Toonami. 2015, I want to say. I saw it.
I was introduced to Cowboy Bebop through Netflix. It was the movie.
Netflix had the movie?
At one point, they had Knock on Heaven's Door.
Yeah, because that was licensed by Sony, so it was easier for them to get.
Yeah, that's still the only piece of Bebop material I've not seen, and now that I want to see it, it's nowhere to be found.
Hey, you should have saw it in theaters.
I saw it in theaters a few years ago. Good times.
Yeah, I remember when that was coming out. The problem was, though, it was an extremely limited outing, and the closest theater playing it to me was an hour away, and I wasn't going to drive that far. I already drive 20 minutes sometimes to next town over to catch a couple anime movies like One Piece's Strong World, wasted money on Konosuba. Yeah,
that Konosuba should be on.
It's the same situation with Jujutsu Kaisen, to where they're Crunchyroll exclusives.
Whoa.
So that kind of not only that, but I don't think no offense, but I don't think Jason and them are fans of that, because it's also what they like too.
That's crazy. I was looking up the Cowboy Bebop movie, and you're kind of right. It's hard to find streaming wise, and the Steelbook Blu-ray release.
You can't even get a Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's been out of print for a while.
It's $300 for the Steelbook.
Yeah, they never did a standard release for it. Other than there was an original standard release, but that was when it was still under Sony.
I bought this. I think I bought the Steelbook version of the movie about maybe 3 years ago, and I think I got it for $50 or $60.
There is somewhat of a silver lining. Recently, HBO Max, the Caribbean version, announced that it would actually be on there this month. So I'm literally waiting for the day it gets added, and I will put the VPN on and go to HBO Max. But
Well,
what's funny is it's on Netflix Canada too. Like you could watch Cowboy Bebop the movie if you put a VPN to Canada, but it's
mhm.
subtitled only. And I want to see it with, Steve Bloom and all them. Anyway, I think we've rambled
Yeah.
on long enough. I think we've gotten our points. We're like over 2.5 hours away, and we plan to have this done in 2 hours. But yeah, that was
It's the way it goes. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I guess to wrap it up, as far as I can see it, things may not have looked exactly as great as one might have hoped for Toonami for the last quarter of 2021, but I think with new shows on the way, it's looking up. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come for 2022 in general.
Agreed.
Yep.
I just want to be hopeful for 2022, just because like the way the year ended, it was kind of looking scary. like that we were literally going into the new year and not knowing what. And at this moment, we still somewhat don't know. But I just hope that it hope for the better.
All right. Well, as we're wrapping up, do you guys have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, check out Project Echo, just released on Blu-ray, brand new remaster from Discotech. We found the film after 30 years of it being lost.
Damn.
I've never worked as hard on a project as I worked on that, and me and the entire team are really proud of all the work we did. So, yeah, if you want to see one of the quintessential old anime movies that built a fandom for a lot of people, it's worth checking out.
Which anime is this?
Project Echo.
Project Echo.
Yeah, film was lost for literally 30 years, and we got tipped off by actually the man who gave me my start in the industry, Robert Woodhead from Animego, and
Nice.
we found the original film as we were in the process of doing a new upscale for the old SD version, and so yeah, we managed to put out something that literally a year ago we would have told you, nope, it's impossible, it'll never happen. So don't ever give up on thinking that the impossible can become possible.
Huh.
Hashtag Jujutsu Kaisen for Toonami.
Oh wow.
Just gotta pierce the heavens.
Yeah,
Sam,
Tengen
anything?
Toppa. You can follow me on Twitter at Samsu299. I have a YouTube channel.
I meant like any projects. I meant.
Well, I mean, like I don't work in the industry like Logan does. I mean, like I make a bunch of fake bumpers and promos. I still need to make the true Blade Runner night that we should have gotten. I've been so busy. Although, and then I just got back to work because I was positive with a certain something that started with the C. But
No,
I'm
you
better
can
now.
say COVID, safe.
All right, COVID.
I said the word. Ah!
Politically incorrect. No.
I mean, like at this moment, like all I do is make like a bunch of fake bumpers and promos. If I want to plug something, I put a lot of work into this, and this doesn't have a lot of views. I essentially made a Toonami music video in the style of like their music videos, and to this day, it's gonna be like a year since I made that, and to this day, it hasn't even broken 300 views. So I would appreciate if I could get some views on that. And any upcoming stuff, like the only thing I know so far is I really need to make the Blade Runner night that we should have gotten. But yeah.
Eric, anything for you?
Blah blah blah.
I'm sold. Give me 5.
Yeah.
I'll take 20.
As
I've
long
had a
as
lot
if it's not
going on.
NFTs.
I've had a lot going on. I'm not sure if I'm ready to talk about it just yet.
Yeah, exactly. As long as it's not an NFT, because Toonami
No,
Squad's
no,
anti-NFT.
No.
Oh, you ruined the
NFTs for
joke.
me.
I was gonna pretend like, hey guys, we're promoting NFTs, and then be like, no, yeah, no, like, no fucking thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Pretty much. Let's just say the last year or so has been life changing, to say the least, for me personally. I'm still kind of on a hiatus, but I'm trying to make a comeback this year, hopefully. It really depends on how things play out personally. This is kind of a one little start.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm gonna try to do a little more podcasts if we do these a little more consistently, and try to slowly work my way back into the fold. Yeah, like I said, just going through a patch right now that I just gotta get over that hump first, personally. And but baby steps, but getting there, you know. But I'm happy to be back. We'll see how things play out for the rest of the year. And yeah, it's cool seeing everybody again. Feels good to be back a little bit. I missed you guys.
Yeah, we certainly miss you, Eric.
I'm sorry.
But as for me, I'm the host of the Toonami Squad Gaming Zone podcast, by the way. We'll have our 2021 in-year review for that eventually. And you can always catch our streams over at twitch.tv/Toonami Squad Gaming Zone. We stopped playing Persona 5, but it's okay because I kind of have a fatigue for that game for now. And hopefully we're gonna be finishing Final Fantasy VII Remake at some given point. So with Pokemon Shining Pearl. And we'll be playing Pokemon Legends Arceus or Arceus, but I guess it's. Do you guys pronounce it Arceus or Arceus?
Arceus.
Yeah, I would say Arceus is how I assumed it was.
No idea. Foreign language to me.
No, I gotcha. So I guess I'll say Arceus for now, but there's that down the pipe. Yeah, just streaming, making promos every week, making the Gaming Zone system update articles, which Logan has a hand in. Shout out to him. And yeah, at this point, where can the people follow you, everybody?
You can follow me on Twitter at Schmullis1.
Follow me on Twitter at Samster299.
You could also follow me on Twitter at erockstar5. Yeah.
Follow me at Twitter at Fanstar64. And if you want to check out our other social medias, you can follow us on Twitter at Toonami Squad and TS Gaming Zone. Facebook, Toonami Squad Official. Instagram, Toonami Squad. YouTube, Toonami Squad, and Toonami Squad Gaming Zone. If you want to buy merch that's outdated, it's redbubble.com/people/Toonami Squad/shop. If you want to buy defunct merch.
That has to be updated, actually.
Silver wants to destroy it, but I don't know. I kind of would like new merch. So if you want to prove Silver wrong, buy our merch.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, we're almost 3 hours in, so thank you everybody for listening to the Toonami Squad podcast sessions. Glad to be back.
Same here.
Hope to do more of these, and
I miss this.
I know, me too.
I don't miss editing anything out.
Hey, for right now, I am going to edit this, so you could take a break on this one.
Sam, edit that out.
Yeah, I already.
Oh, no.
Please end it. Please end it. Please end it before I kill myself again.
Yeah, let's not do that. So with that said, thank you for listening, and stay gold, everybody. Later.
Bye.
Bye.
Fuck NFTs.
Demonetized.